right. Hello, everybody. We have a special episode this week. I'm here with Aaron, as always, and also Caleb Porzio. Am I saying that right? Okay.
You said it like it was a question.
I might not. Yeah, I might not have a question mark at the end. It's like a silent question mark.
You hate saying the other people's names. You get it wrong.
Oh,
you feel
dude,
stupid.
it's my life. I'm constantly, when I'm streaming, it's like, I know I'm offending everybody because it's just, I can't do it.
I don't know. I think 95% of pronunciation is confidence. If you just blow through it, it's like,
that's a good point.
Well, that was wrong, but boy, was he confident.
Right.
Well, see, that strategy works when it's just like you on your own. But when the person's here, the problem is they're going to be like, no, you're an idiot. You said my name wrong.
That's true.
You know, they're here to counter you. But yes, when they're not here, you just go for it. And it's fine because even if it's wrong, 90% of people have no idea.
I put the pronunciation on my rider that you guys should have seen. Like,
yeah. We definitely got that and read that for sure.
I actually did help you with pronunciation on my name in Riverside, though. It does say K-lib, so I should have done that with my last name.
I thought that was a moniker. I didn't know what that was. I don't
know.
That
I just
that doesn't seem right.
That's what I didn't realize that's what you were doing either. I was like, oh, he just goes by that in these other areas.
This is a one-time thing.
No, my goodness.
The worst thing you can do with pronunciations is say like, oh wow, this is a weird name. I'm totally gonna screw this one up.
That's
like,
true.
I don't know who you're helping here.
You're insulting the person.
Yeah, just try your hardest to apologize. Don't say this is a weird name. I'm definitely gonna mess this up.
You guys ever have this problem with your names? Over the phone, people cannot spell my name correctly, ever. Like either the Ian part is wrong or the Landsman part is wrong. But some part, the Landsman part, I know. They always miss the S in Landsman. Always.
Put a Z instead.
Some people haven't heard the name Ian, which is, I mean, it's not like,
I don't know.
It's a little non-standard, but it's not super non-standard. I don't know.
It's kind of a blur if you say it, Ian. It's like, what were the what were the characters there? Ian.
If you haven't had it spelled out, we get the E in the front a lot, things like that.
Interesting. I mean, people always misspell Caleb and Porzio. Right. Porzio? Porzio? Right. Wrong. But that's just kind of expected. But Aaron, I bet that Key and Peele really helped you out.
I was going to say,
like my greatest 2 A's after
my
Key
greatest
and Peele.
pain, but it was also helpful, is that Key and Peele did a sketch where they called it AA Ron. And years later, to this day, I'll be like, at Home Depot or something and give them my credit card. And they're like, oh, have you ever seen that Key and Peele sketch? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I sure have. I definitely have. It's very, very funny for everyone but me.
For Aaron's,
and I think they
everywhere.
I don't know if it was them or somebody else that did a follow-up sketch for people that had names that were referenced in the Key and Peele sketch. And so there's like this whole scene where it's like a support group and it's like AA Rons and Balakes and all of these people come together and they're like, yeah, my name's Blake. And they're all like, hey, Balake.
Yeah, I think that was them. They definitely did a follow-up to it and that sounds familiar. But yeah, that's funny.
That's funny. We have this similar issue because when I was a kid, 90210, if you're familiar with that show, a little before your guys' time, I think. But there was this very famous show called 90210.
Yeah.
And there was a guy on it named Ian Ziering, I think his last name is. And he's one of the few Ians who says it Ian. So it's spelled the same, but he says it Ian. And I don't like the Ians. None of the Ians like the Ians.
Never
the
heard
Ians
Ian.
are horrible. Yes, because there's not many of them and they mess it all up, right? And normally it's fine. But then this guy shows up and he's super famous because this was like the hot show for everybody who was like 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so everybody starts calling me Ian.
Of course.
And it was the worst thing ever. It's like I'm totally traumatized the rest of my life by this. It seems to have faded out. He's kind of
there's a
had his
phase
moment.
out. Like same thing with AA Ron. Unfortunately, you're not going to see the phase out because everybody's growing up with you. But my baby River, like older people who River, like River Phoenix, they say it every time. But anybody under 30, just River, they don't even know
There's
River
nobody
Phoenix,
to associate with. River Phoenix was that's the only river anybody had known, right? If you're over 35
for sure you were going
a
different way with that story. I thought you were going to say, my baby River won't ever call you AA Ron. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
I'll make sure of it.
No,
I've already told him it. AA Ron.
Perfect. That's great.
All right, so maybe we'll do a little follow-up. I'm sure we can get Caleb's takes on some of these things, and then we'll jump into, we have a bunch of questions for Caleb. He's got questions for us, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, let's do a little follow-up and then a little disclaimer that we're not an interview show and Caleb's just here to hang. So
I'm going to interview you.
Yeah, perfect.
Why don't you just intro yourself?
How did you get into computers back in the day? Like, I'm so bored already. All right, Ian, where do you want to start with a little follow-up?
All right, should we start at the top here? So last week, I believe we talked about that. I got, we talked about your sock methodology. I don't know, Caleb, if you were in the hook on this sock situation.
Hook me up.
But, all right, so basically, Aaron has a sock strategy. He has a particular brand and color of socks.
I do have
he gets
sock strategy
from Amazon. You have a sock strategy?
I think Aaron knows my sock strategy, I believe.
I don't know if I know your sock strategy, honestly.
We might have the same sock strategy.
We might. And saying mine's a strategy is a little lowbrow. I'd like to call it a philosophy, if that's okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I just like to class it up just a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's who I am as well. So much so that I don't remember the name offhand. Oh, we got Hanes. But yeah,
nice.
like
Heard
Target Hanes are incredible. They last forever, the soft ones. And if you tend towards perspiration on your footal region, they help a ton. So like if I wear slippers, I don't have like sweaty feet. So I learned this years ago and would just buy them from Target, but found out you can get them on Amazon for like 6 pairs for like $14 or something. I talked about this on Syntax with Wes. Me and Wes
He's on the
have
show.
the same exact. I said this, and he's
brand.
like, "Dude, Hanes Dry Fit. We both order them on Amazon in bulk." So
okay, same
that's my
philosophy. Buy them in bulk.
Very
dump
similar.
them in. So Ian, did you buy them?
So I bought them, and I like Aaron's brand. They're not Hanes, which I used to be a Hanes man, although not religiously. I've tried different ones. I like the low cut, but the low cut tend to ride under for me, which I don't like. But Aaron's do not ride under. They are reasonable in the absorption, as you would say there, Caleb, as well. So I like this brand. The only thing I've diverged slightly on the strategy. So Aaron's strategy, I don't know if you have the same one, Caleb, or philosophy, I should say.
Thank you.
That's philosophy.
Is that's also they're all the same color. So it's just a single color of a single sock.
So that you never match anything. That's like
never match.
That was the biggest goal
if you
originally.
You guys
lose
are
it.
geniuses. This is why I
No more
surround myself
matching.
with smart people like this. But see, here's the thing. I'm stubborn, and I'm not as smart as you guys. So I'm going with the strategy. Very bad. Very bad. But I can't go with the one color. I can go with the one type, but the one color I don't think is going to work for me. So I have the 3-color pack that it came with. I'm trying the 3 colors of the one type.
3 colors. What's the third color?
Matching.
There's a third color?
There's black, there's white, there's gray.
True.
I like black.
There is the gray.
I like black at sometimes. So Aaron's
we need
an
to
all
talk
gray man. You're an all white man.
All gray.
I'm all gray.
You all
Only
white?
gray.
Interesting. So I'm all black.
You're all black.
But
see,
here's the thing. I've done, when I was a kid, it was like, the dorks, including me, people whose moms just give them stuff to wear, have these socks that are too high, and you look like a fool. So it's like, I see those ankle socks, be like, oh man, Adidas, like slipper thingies with ankle socks, and that's how you're cool. You wear ankle socks. I have kept that philosophy too long. And now it's showing my age because ankle socks are dorky in a lot of like it's those higher
tube socks
with like that slight little bunch in the middle. Like I did the like YouTube on this because for Laracon I wanted to not. I'm just gonna this transparency. I went to the Tailwind Connect conference. I was like, man, I look a little like a dork. It was just like a realization for me. It like hit me. I was like,
so the question is, did you arrive at the Tailwind conference and think, I look like all of these people, therefore I'm a dork, or I look different than all of these people, therefore I'm a dork?
I will not say, as to not incriminate myself to this audience. But so for Laracon, I was like, no more. I'm going to buy Nikes. And I'm going to figure out the right socks to wear. And it's like,
change.
You can't wear ankle socks with Nikes. You look like an idiot. You have to have
it. It looks cool.
Yeah, you need the higher socks. And unfortunately, white is what's up. Black with black shoes, but like white is cooler in general.
Tall
than
socks,
black.
you gotta go white. The question is, are you making a differentiation here between ankle socks and no-show socks?
I probably am conflating the two. Yeah.
Okay.
What I mean,
because no-show are like the ones that I wear that have that are super low and you don't see them. Ankle is like just above the ankle bone, and then you've got the tall ones that the kids and Caleb wear that have like the Nike at the top.
I'm gonna show you. You can blur this out if this makes it.
It would be funny if we blurred it out.
What's this?
That's an ankle sock, right?
That's an ankle sock.
Okay, so you're
And
you're below
you,
the ankle.
Let me show you mine, okay?
This is the good. Oh, you got to come more in. Yeah. There you go.
I can't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't see it?
No.
Well, the way the three of us are. There you are.
Us.
There you are.
Okay, yeah.
So
Okay,
then you put the
I've got those
no-show.
for like Sperry's.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
no show and ankle are definitely different. Ankle you gotta be careful of.
True.
Now I will say I also, because I am aware of this crew sock situation. My 13-year-old, he only wears crew socks, so I figure this
he's
is
cool
the
and we're
scene,
not.
right? Yes, he's very cool and all that stuff. And so the company Aaron likes, Amazon, they cross-sold me on the crew socks, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to order crew socks too. I'm going to try the crew socks.
Nice.
So this it's already. I don't have them yet. They haven't arrived for some reason. I don't know why those haven't arrived.
Yeah.
But so we will see. So I'm way off of Aaron's philosophy and reality.
Yeah.
I now have 4 new types of socks, but this brand I enjoy a lot. The general idea I like a lot. Caleb, you're on a similar tip, but also crew sock curious, let's say. So you're going to be trying that out.
I'm crew curious. That's true.
Okay, good follow-up. Good sock follow-up. What do we got
there we go.
next?
All right, so
I totally thought sock was an acronym for some business thing.
Oh, no.
we're talking about socks on here.
Yeah.
Sales.
Nope.
All right, so last week we also talked about text.com.
Ian said you can't trust him.
I said you can't trust them. I don't know if you're aware of this app. So this is an app that lets you aggregate all your messaging apps. So like iMessage and Slack and Telegram,
Twitter, LinkedIn, all puts in one desktop
client,
app.
so that you don't have to check all those spots. It's written, by literally a guy of unknown origin. Aaron's all in on it. He's like, this is the best thing ever. I'm a little skeptical just from a security concern, especially around like iMessage and some of these ones. I don't even know how you do it with iMessage. That whole thing even just seems bizarre that he's able to do it
locally.
It is.
Right?
Like
It is a local thing, but I didn't even know that you could do that. I don't know. So the whole thing was a little shady to me. The next day, the literal next day, they announced that Automatics bought them for $50 million. So now they're in the Automatic fold. And so
now they're trustworthy.
Like there's at least a security team who's going to be securing stuff and things like that, which I'm not, listen,
And someone
I
you
run a
can hold
tiny company.
accountable. That was a big thing, is you didn't know who it was.
Right. It's like, there's just these levels of like the level of thing you're trying to secure. And for me, like your text messages, like that's pretty high up that bar. I mean, you get security codes through there. All this stuff happens through your messages.
Yeah.
So it's a very key link in the chain of all your other security. And so, so it was pretty interesting. And this one guy's got quite a paycheck.
I know. Way to go, Keyshawn, I think was his name.
Wow.
I wonder what his
Kishan.
revenues were.
Software.
I don't know.
So lucrative.
Isn't that crazy?
Man.
Yeah.
We should get into that stuff.
Somebody should
do
try that.
We should do that.
All right, last one before we move on
right.
to the topic at hand. So many people agreed with my take on React. I felt really good about that.
This is a
So I had a
perfect
take
segue.
last week that was like, hey, I tried React because I was using Remotion, which is a video creation tool. I tried React for Remotion, and you know what? I still don't like it. I've always had this like, kind of a bit, kind of a personality thing, like, hey, I don't like React because I find it complicated. I finally used it and was like, you know what? I don't like React because I find it complicated. And my point on the show last week was I find that React makes us care about things that are too low level. Like, I don't want to tell you what my dependencies are. You're the computer. You should figure it out, and you should keep it up to date. And if something changes, you should change it. That's not my problem. And people agreed with that. And I was like, wow. I expected to get excoriated.
The
But even
internet affirmation.
Yes, even people that use React were quote tweeting it and being like, yeah, I've used React for the past 5 years, and this is a really good take. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So That's all. I just wanted to receive my accolades here on the follow up.
Yeah,
Proud of you,
you were right-ish. I mean, I think that's
I was
it's
super
sort of
right. What do you mean? What do you mean ish?
No, I do. I think I agreed with you that it is like
You did.
There is a low levelness to it. Definitely that is there. I mean, there is like the mental model of it compared to like a Vue and these other things that are available in Livewire, which we're gonna talk a lot about here. But to me, like Livewire is like the opposite, right? Like it's so like you don't have to think about any of the low level anything. At least on the like JavaScript end, it's just like the magic just happens for you.
What I want.
Which is obviously the optimal scenario as we've come to
since he's here, that's
since he's here.
Yeah.
I actually do. I love Livewire
scenario
from the beginning. So
no, I could argue with Aaron about React if we want. We don't have to.
We can if you have a take.
Tell me, I will destroy you with my React knowledge. But tell me, what do you have?
I'll first say that you're right before I tell you why you're wrong.
You and I argue very differently, but I love it so far.
It's definitely true. But one of the like just visceral feelings I have as a maybe more just as a framework maintainer is that like I guess on the spectrum of Livewire, like you don't have to worry about any of the low level stuff to like you come to Vue along the way and then React. Those trade-offs start to shift, and when you don't explicitly declare your dependencies in a use effect, like it's so valuable to do that. Because otherwise you don't know what's referencing the reactive piece of data and it can leak. And that's the problem with Vue and Alpine because Alpine is Vue in a sense. It uses Vue's reactivity engine. So I've just been to hell and back on like you have your bit of reactive data and then you have your thing that reacts when it changes. And that's fine when they live right next to each other and they're really simple things. But when it comes to that data leaking out or being global or being used deeply within components or that reaction changing the data and triggering a new effect, and, you know, there's so many of those pitfalls that it's like, and the code involved, like you're using proxies, which has all sorts of overhead and refs and everything, where in React, when you use useEffect, you declare the dependencies, it tells you right there when this thing will rerun. You get to look at it and you go, I actually know when this is going to rerun, where in Vue, you don't know. And then in React, you're using actual data. You're not using proxies and ref callbacks, you know, you're using pure data. So I got one foot in both camps. I think they both are great and horrible.
I think you've just made my point for me by explaining how much work you as the maintainer are having to do and all of the gnarliness that you're having to do.
Yes.
That's what I want. I mean, not you specifically, but I want the creators of the library to eat all of that glass so that I don't have to. Because like you are absorbing all of that pain and then I get to just use the thing for fun.
I agree. And then when you're using React, like to the extent that I've used it, which is not a ton, but enough, it's like, oh my gosh, the headiness of even just a newcomer understanding useEffect.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's the sharpest knife ever.
Yes.
And constantly you're like, when did this? How does this? Why does this?
Yes.
You know, and it is mind-boggling. Even after using it for a long time and understanding it pretty deeply, and I like writing my own React. Like I've tried to really understand React's internals, and still I get bit. So yeah, for somebody new like learning React, I'm like, oh my gosh, so
that
bad
was me.
for you.
I'm slightly above average intelligence, and I was learning React for the first time, and I was like, this is really, really hard. So
I do think there are these trade-offs though, of like, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit with Caleb today about Livewire. For everybody, I mean, we're now like 20 minutes in, but for anybody who doesn't know, Caleb is the maintainer and creator of Livewire and Laravel Livewire, which we're going to talk a lot about. I think most of our audience is aware of Livewire, but just in case. But yeah, I do think when you have these black boxes, and I think we're going to talk about this with Livewire a bit, like you don't always understand what's going on. So I do think in React, like the debugging, like you have to understand what's going, like how to construct the React, which is more complicated to learn than Vue.
Yeah.
But I think once you have some sense of what's going on, then like the debugging and things like that, I did find to be maybe a little bit easier than with Vue, which I don't have a ton of experience with Vue, and even with Livewire, whereas there's a lot of stuff going on your behalf, but when something goes wrong, then it's not always clear where it's going wrong or what part of the code it's going wrong in. So I do think that there are those trade-offs there when you have like the more of a black box setup. It's like when everything goes well, then it's like awesome, like Aaron's saying, because it's just super magical and you don't think about anything. But then there is these times where it's like doesn't go right, and then it's a little bit harder to figure out what you're, where to even start looking, or which part of the stack is the problem in. So agree.
You're right.
All right.
Right.
Well,
I just love being right, so thanks for that segment. We need to have an Aaron was right segment every week.
I would still choose React Overview if I were to, just so you know.
Oh, there we go. 2-1. 2-1.
What?
In Vue, you can't have it's single file components. In React, you can have
Why does everyone care about this?
When you
so
start
much?
doing it, you don't go back. You're like, wait, so if I want to create some small little component, even just a one-off thing inside my Vue thing, I need to create a new file, and that means I need to like name it and know about that name. It's just
and Adam Wathan are both always on about the single file components, and I'm like,
because it's just functions which you're already used to in JavaScript. So you're like, oh my gosh, I just create a little function that returns some JSX, and then it's just like, whoa, now components are just functions that return as small of bits as JSX as you want. Where with Vue, it's like a new file, a new script setup tag, a new temp. It's it's a lot.
We did too long on the sock segment. We should have done more on this segment because this is crazy. We got to move on live.
We forget about React and Vue. Who's even using those?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, nobody uses those things.
Who's using them?
Why waste their time? They'll all be on Livewire soon enough.
That's right.
So we did, Aaron and I, just for your background, we did listen to your latest notes on work, so we're up to speed on your thinking there. And then I know
what was that?
Caleb never has any idea what his notes on work are about.
How can you get people unstuck in Livewire? So like kind of what we were just talking about, where when they you get a problem in Livewire and you have no idea where to start with fixing it.
I'll message him sometimes. I'll be like, dude, I just listened to the latest notes on work episode. And he's like, hey man, what did I say? What was it? What was it about? What was it?
I love that.
I forget what I said.
So good. It's just like a
happens
therapy
when you
session.
Like ramble into the void for so long. You just
it's nothing. It's like he's not producing it as like content to be viewed. It's just like he just got to get it off his chest.
On the record button. That's really what
just getting stuff off his chest.
That's right.
So I don't know. We could take this a lot of different ways. So I thought on that there was a couple interesting things you talked about in terms of getting people unstuck. And I'm in this like early phase of building a big project with Livewire 3, so I'm kind of in that zone. And then obviously we had talked about kind of the business of Livewire a little bit and some of that stuff. So I don't know. What
we
do you
should
want to
also
start with?
talk about, like, you guys talked, apparently you talked about, I didn't listen to the episode, but a lot of people have told me you talked about getting React working in Livewire.
Yes.
And it's like,
I want to
I'm
talk
here
about
now.
that too.
We could talk about that.
If we're going to just make this a support case for you right
exciting
here.
thing to talk about.
I am all about that.
Guide the ship.
I don't know. I want to talk about the empire of Caleb.
Okay.
I kind of want to talk about that. Let me start by recapping what I remember of notes on work, which is probably more than what Caleb remembers.
Definitely.
So I'll
and you'll say it better
first.
anyway.
So I think John O'Nolan of Ghost, which is what? Ghost is a blogging platform?
Yeah.
John
it's
O'Nolan
CMS, but it's like evolved in ways I'm not even aware of because I haven't used it in a while. It's like, does a lot of, it's like a creator platform.
Yeah, I think it has like a commerce thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Or stuff.
So he was on Twitter the other day, before you recorded this, asking for help with Livewire, and you like reached out to him and like, hey, I can help you. And so that, I think what that spurred in you was like this thought of how do I get people unstuck and how do I do it, I think, in like a commercially viable way, in a way that preserves, Caleb's lifestyle. And there was some commentary about you have this Livewire support, maybe it's called Livewire Partners Program, where you and Jason Beggs take like monthly payments, and then you do like, you'll have to fill in the details later, you do like early access and support, and they have access maybe to JSON and Insider's repo and that kind of stuff. And I think the meta question was like, how do you help more people get unstuck, and what's the economic viability model to like support Livewire / Caleb long term? Does that seem like a recap?
Solid.
And then Ian, you're a part of the Partners Program, is that right?
Yeah, well, so I was at one point, and then I wasn't at one point. A churned user.
That's actually why he's the perfect person to talk to. But he is our one of our most generous donors. So I'm just going to put it out there that like, I'm not sure I know of. Yeah, he's among the very top of people who've contributed financially to Livewire. So thank you, Ian. Early support for it, just, yeah, all good. And then he ripped it all out from under us. And this is where we are now.
This is an intervention.
I think I even messaged you a while ago or something. Like there was a point where I felt guilty taking your money. Like I was like, dude, I really don't feel great about this.
Well, I think I gave a big check, I guess you would say, because I really wanted to get to Livewire 3, because I was like, I wanted to support them, especially with Livewire 3. So there is like, to me, there's two separate things. There's like, what is a business model for ongoing support that companies will pay for Livewire support? To me, what I did before that was even a little bit different, because it was more like, let's help get Caleb and the crew over the line of Livewire 3, which is solves a bunch of problems that Livewire 2 had, which would be really good and important for the stuff I want to do with it. So this was like totally also self-serving, but also I love Livewire, so it was like the perfect combination there. So that was kind of like that era, and now it's like, so we're definitely using Livewire in our big new stuff, and so we've been talking about like the support end of things because I have questions and things like that, and then that just brought us to like this idea of like the current support program, and then this is all mixed up together, right? It's like people get stuck. For some of those people, forums and things like that are the right answer. For some of those people, Discord in the community are the right answer. For some of those people, they just want to pay money and have somebody answer their question today, right? So there's a continuum there, and how do you find the right balance? Are there enough people willing to pay to get support today and things like that? Are there maybe software tools that could be involved in all this, whether they're free, whether they're paid, or some combination? So
so give us the state of the empire, Caleb. What's the sticky wicket here?
The empire as a whole, or the support bit?
The empire, as much as you want to talk about and focus this.
Well, what do you think about? Let's just start with Livewire 3 release. Let's start right there, because I feel like that's a good baseline. So how has that gone? How are people doing with it? What are did it come out as good as you hoped it would? Like, what are you thinking about Livewire 3?
Yep. I looking back on it recently, I was just like realizing that I accomplished that because it was such a long journey. It's like easy to forget why you did it and forget where the difference and the goals and everything. Right. But I just recently reminded myself of what I kept saying, which was like, I can't do Livewire 2 because I hate working in the code base, and there's all these inefficiencies and there's all these architectural constraints. It's like, I got to rewrite the whole thing. That's why I'm doing this, so that we can obviously add a bunch of new features. But in theory, we could have done that with V2. It just would have been like a way worse life, and I wouldn't want to maintain it. So we are in a place where I do want to maintain it, where writing a feature is fun and energizing again. So I had like a wild idea over the weekend and just took a day to just hack on it, and it was a blast because the core is a blast to hack. It's meant for hacking. Awesome. So for that, like from my perspective, it's great. From users' perspective, it's good and bad. I'd say like the overwhelming like feedback is this solves all the problems that I had before. But of course that introduces a new set of problems. Once you add a feature, it breeds new possibilities that then have their own constraints. So it's like I made nesting components better, but there's still sharp edges there. There's still communication questions. So so there's still things with that. As far as stability, it's going to take a long time till it's like total. Like Livewire 2 got to a point where there were very few pull requests being added. It was just like it had years and years of just maintenance work, basically. And so V3 has to undergo that. And it's to the point where like I feel confident if somebody uses it and ships it in an app, which is a good, I didn't feel that way when I launched it at Laracon. It needed to like live in the wild for a bit, but it has, and we've had, hit all the biggies. And now there's that kind of long tail of things that, it's not as rock solid as it will be in a year, but it's solid enough. So yeah, I mean, I feel great about it, and it has changed everything for me from my perspective. Like Livewire before had so many things under the hood, and also just on the surface, like the site, the docs, there was just all these things. Now the docs are part of the main repo. So like when people pull request, they pull request docs. They pull request bug fixes. I'm not in a separate or they pull request spelling errors. It's not a separate repo. When I put way more into the docs this time. I'm putting more
Docs
content
are
out.
great, yeah.
There's just I'm hiring designers to do stuff instead of doing it myself. Yeah. So there's a lot of things like that it feels like a new regime for me. It's like, this is where I wanted to get to. Now I feel like I'm playing like a big boy, and I just got to keep pushing that envelope. And there's a lot more room to grow for me, but it definitely feels like, I have something that like feels good. And yeah, that's my whatever.
Well, I mean, people get down on the rebuilding, but I feel like, the rebuilding just sometimes has to happen, especially with this kind of thing where I imagine you didn't even know what you were building in a sense. You know what I mean? Like Livewire 1 and 2, it's like a thing that you kind of cobbled together and it was cool. And then you added onto it and you added onto it more. And then now you have such a clear vision of like, well, what do people do with a thing like Livewire? Like, what are they trying to accomplish? And then obviously then you'd build it totally differently once you know how people actually use it. And it makes sense to actually do that so that you can be happy maintaining it. It'll work better and all those things now that you know what you're building.
Yeah. I mean, like concepts reveal themselves that were just hidden. And then they reveal themselves and you go, oh, like this is a concept that needs a name and could have its own system, and I could make, where before it's like that concept, that thing I'm just vaguely touching it and seeing it, but not putting it in its corral and not clearly defining it. And that happens for so many different mechanisms in a machine, and then so that the rebuild is an opportunity to go, okay, what's everything we learned? What are the concepts? List them out, and then you can build them as like modular things that are tight and contained.
Just even simple things like better defaults. Like I feel like Livewire 3 defaults are so much better like than Livewire 2's defaults, because you realized how people actually use it and what they're actually trying to do. And so the defaults can just be better and things like that. So a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah.
So like you were saying on Notes on Work, like maybe we can go that angle on it, like with people getting unstuck, and tools around that maybe. I mean, I think for me, I'll kick it off here, is like, I would love some type of visualization. And I don't know, I mean, I personally would be happy to pay for it. Whether or not enough people are happy to pay for it, I don't know. But like some type of thing that's like, okay, this is where your request came in. This is what it went through. This is where it was transformed or whatever. This is where it ended up. Because that's the stuff where it is hard sometimes in Livewire, is like, what is doing this? I have these 3 nested components. Which one is causing this thing to re-render or whatever the problem is, right?
Dev tools? Like some dev kind of tools thing?
Yeah, whether it's like a debug bar type thing or it's a in Chrome type thing, or I don't know. But something
you're saying not like educational visualization.
Not educational, no.
A machinery
you shove in your app, and it's like, this is what's happening right now in the Livewire stack, and you can see where things are changing, at what point in the cycle they're changing. If something's happening in the event hook or whatever, like what that's doing, just like those type of things, because there is like that magical component where, and because you could do so much stuff on the front end too. It's like, well, you have JavaScript changing stuff, and that feeds back up to the PHP side, and everything's bi-directional basically. So you can hit some just weird stuff there where you're like, I don't know what's going on, and often it's your fault. It's not even like necessarily Livewire's fault. It's like your fault, but it's it's your own fault. But it's just like the debugging can be more complicated. So so I mean, obviously a lot of these front end tools already have these things, right? Like I don't know if they're visualized in quite the way I'm thinking, but they are. React has a Chrome thing, and Vue, I'm pretty sure, has a Chrome thing, and whatever. Alpine has a Chrome thing, I believe, right? So but I think we need something more than that probably for Livewire, just because it needs to know the server end too, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's the wiretap, that thing I demoed at Laracon. That's the goal of wiretap, is like a debug bar, but more than that, because I think the best version of wiretap is exactly what you're describing, something that shows you visually what is happening. So I went pretty far on it and started building that So like every update in Livewire would be listed, and you can click on it and you could see how much time it spent at each stage, and it would visualize the stages for you, and it would show you like in almost like a flow chart, like this is mount and then updating and then updated and then you know, calling and then called this method, called this other method, called render, dehydrated, and then you could click into each one of those and see like data about those steps. But so I mean that's on hold because I'm trying to do screencasts to make money first.
Right.
When I return it, and another reason is I want to nail it for what you're describing. And when I tried to build it the first time, I had about half of it there. The rest just felt like this has to be driven out by experience, you know, like this has to be driven out by
enough then in some ways.
Yeah. And you need to know what, I need to know, what do you want to know when something goes wrong? What do you want to know? What's the information that helps you get past it? Jot that down and do that 100 times. And then we would have something that would be truly helpful instead of me, you know, on an island building something that looks good for Laracon. Where, you know, that's definitely, that's a huge goal. And I think, particularly with Livewire, because it's full stack, you can learn a lot just from payloads, but those are very, you know, they're low level. So definitely DevTools. It's a good point, because when I was talking about getting unstuck, I don't even think I mentioned DevTools.
I don't think you did. I was like,
and that's potentially could be one of the best ways to get you unstuck.
Let me find, if I have the tools to get myself unstuck, then I don't have to ask anybody anything.
And I think it would be a really unique tool as well. Like I looked back at other dev tools, React dev tools, Vue dev tools to take inspiration and be like, what are they doing? And they're fairly minimal. You know, there's not.
I've never been in love with any of those. I don't know. I feel like they're okay.
They don't give you much beyond like show you the components on the page and allow you to mutate the data inside those components and view events and stuff. It would be nice for something to show you, like, you know, if you look at the code, it's going to take you forever to construct the machine in your brain. I already have the machine constructed in my brain, so I can abstract it. And I'm always communicating those abstractions to people. I'm like, well, there's the hydrate phase, there's the dip phase. But if I could put it in something visual, it would be, I think what I'm trying to say is I think it would be a profound tool. Like not just, add this missing piece of Livewire. I think it would be like a profound tool for any tool to really like visualize the system in a simple way that is true to it and gives you, it would educate you about Livewire better than anything I could say or anything you would read, even the code, you know? So I don't know. I think that'd be cool. We should do it.
There we go. I like it.
Well, it's a lot faster than I expected. We're done here, I guess.
Problem
solved. There's still so many things that like I'm doing these screencasts and I'm getting stuck. Like I got stuck on something yesterday. So here's just like a random pile of quick anecdotes. That John O'Nolan thing, he gave me the exact repo. He recorded a video of him hitting this problem. I installed it, composer install, npm run dev, put in the browser, worked like a charm.
Always does.
Works on my machine. Like no idea what Chrome extension he has or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's like something like that that's just, DevTools aren't going to help him with that. Maybe they would. I don't know. Who knows what's wrong with that? I hit some stupid thing on the screencast that prevented me from finishing it yesterday. I didn't add type button on a button. So it was getting picked up. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, it's submitting the form when it shouldn't. It was causing this gnarly, I could explain it to you, but no one cares. Type button stumped me for like 2 hours yesterday.
Okay, so you're in that situation. So you're now John O'Nolan. What do you want, like as Caleb or as John O'Nolan? What do you want from Caleb?
ChatGPT is not going to help me.
Right.
Googling it's not going to help me.
Correct.
Because I don't even know what to Google. I'm not even looking at the button. You know. I'm looking at. I'm doing something else and the modal's closing. I have no idea why. I need a person to sit down with me and help me figure it out.
You need a pair programmer.
I need a pair programmer. That's what I need. I need a pair programmer who knows this stuff.
So is that like, because I feel like there are two things you're looking for. One is to get people unstuck. And that, could be dev tools, screencasts, whatever. And I think the other thing you mentioned is like, how do we make money? Like, how does Livewire continue as a going concern?
Yep.
Are those two things, is it accurate to say you're looking for those two things?
Yes and no. I'm definitely looking for the first. As far as making money, the partners program was an experiment. Mm-hmm. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. I'm totally on the fence if I even want to just be like, no, I don't think that this is, I picture there's a different business person who knows how to do this kind of thing with enterprise stuff, sales, pricing, and does it well. And it basically would be like an agency, let's say, like it almost like could be running an agency, like a first party agency or a more enterprisey setup, but still there's somebody who could do this well. I like coding, I like screencasting, whatever. I don't like sales. I don't know how to do this super well. So I have always been like, I could just set this idea off into the sunset, and that might even be the best thing to do. And I'm still like really there, like asking Jason, like, does this even make sense? Like, should we even continue with this? But not only does it feel like, oh, there's an extra revenue stream there. Like, revenue streams are great.
Yep.
But also, it almost feels like I'm watching Suits. You guys watch Suits?
I haven't gotten into it yet. I
haven't seen it.
Suits. Wow,
Everybody's on
Suits.
people.
Yeah.
The chances of this are pretty low.
We're the only two people. Yeah.
We're the last two. 8 billion have seen it.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, whatever. There's a.
Try a different analogy.
No. Let me tell you the basic plot line
ones?
of season 6.
Spoilers for
perfect.
season 6, 1 through 6.
Yeah. There's a, like any show, the main character is fundamentally good, and he makes decisions that he shouldn't based on, what's the right thing to do in the case of law. But with this, it feels like to me there's some moral good here of like, yeah, maybe I could make more money and my life would be a lot better if I didn't pursue this at all. But these people need help, Like, it feels like if I can come up with something that generates enough money to justify my time and effort and energy and helps a lot of people, that's a really good thing, and I should pursue that because it helps people. Otherwise, even if it wouldn't make sense without helping the people, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So there's kind of that element which makes me, that's the thing that keeps me to like, I should really figure this out. But that's what we're here for. To figure it out.
Let's hash out some ideas. So
should we lay out what the current setup is and
let's
and
lay
why
out
it's not working?
Let's lay out not just support, but the Livewire Inc.
The empire.
Financial.
That's what I want to hear. I want to know the empire.
Yeah. So what's the financial empire of Livewire Inc. right now?
The financial empire is. It used to be biggest revenue stream was screencasts.
Okay.
And that has fluctuated between giving me $10,000 a month and $25,000 a month at one point.
That's really good.
Their PayPal took a big chunk out of that. They removed PayPal, and releasing V2, which I knew it would. I'm funneling everybody into a new version and a new website. They're not even seeing the V2 screencasts. Even if they are, they feel like they're old, even though a lot of it's still applicable. Whatever. I've kind of set that off into the sunset. So that is declining. It's about half of what it was before I launched V3. So that's that revenue stream, screencast. That's where I imagine building back up most. That's that. The other revenue stream is Alpine Components, that product for Alpine. And that, like that had a good, big, that was more like a launch and then a long tail than the screencast. The screencast was like almost like a SaaS, like building up recurring revenue users. The Alpine Components was like building up an email list, prepping them, launching a thing with a higher one-time payment up front, getting a bunch of cash out of the gate, and now long-tailing it. And that makes between like $6,000 and $12,000 a month, I think. Jason knows those numbers better than I do.
That's still a lot for a long tail.
Still good sales on Alpine Components. Like there's sales every day. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Make VS Code awesome makes me a tiny bit. I don't even consider it part of the empire. I'm probably just going to let it die and make me $300 a month or just kill it because who cares? Like, so I don't have to support it at all. Those are the main revenue streams. Then there's the partners program, which started out with more revenue than it has now, But Jason knows these numbers. He just tells me what to pay him because he gets a cut of most of this, and I just pay him
Jason.
that. Yeah, he has the spreadsheets. I don't actually look at Paddle or anything like that. He literally just tells me what to pay him, and I blindly do. And I know he's lying a little bit. Like I know he's fudging the numbers, but he's a good guy.
But it's worth it. Yeah, he's a good guy.
It's worth it to keep him around. I turn a blind eye.
Yeah, exactly.
The Partners Program. Let's say that makes $6,000 a month or something.
Okay.
And he gets most of that because he does most of the work. So that's the Empire. There's a tiny chunk of support. Screencast, huge opportunity, but it's dwindled. Alpine Components, solid wall at my back of revenue that like I'm not going to have to like, go to a soup kitchen because I have Alpine Components. So that's the Empire. That's the state of the Empire as it stands right now. Yeah.
So it sounds like if Jason's taken most of the Alpine Components, it's like 40% screencast, 40%. I'm sorry, he takes most of the partner program. So it's 40% screencast, 40% Alpine, 20% partner program in terms of Caleb's household income.
In terms of my household income, it's probably more like you basically have it, although I wouldn't say 20% for partners. It'd be more like 10 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just small. I don't even think about it much because it doesn't feel like a lot to me. Like maybe I make $20,000 a year from it. Maybe something like that. So yeah, that's the state of things.
Okay,
where
so
I'm headed.
Before you do that, that's the income pie. What is like the happiness Caleb wants to work on pie?
Good question.
Yeah, Alpine Components is pretty just stable, and there's questions I have about it, so it doesn't feel like something that I want to put a ton of time into right now.
Okay.
Livewire screencasts is everything to me. I love screencasting. I love planning the screencasts. It drives out new features. It excites me about Livewire. I document stuff I didn't before. I think about stuff I didn't before. It's my favorite thing of all the things. It's up there with coding for me.
Great.
I enjoy it that much, and it happens to be fairly lucrative. So like that's where my heart is. Partner stuff, it's like I don't mind the calls. It's nice to get on calls with people and hash stuff out with them. I don't do a ton of preparation for that, so that feels fine. It's the Jason handles, he's the front man for the support, but he surfaces stuff that are too deep. He needs another head on or a bug that needs to be fixed, a PR that needs to be merged, a new version that needs to be tagged, something like that. And that stuff, I feel bad for Jason because I do it, but he has to really push me and hold my nose to it. And there's a lot of times where I'm low key like, you do it. Or get this a little farther. Give me the silver platter, Jason, please.
He
like
embezzles
I can't
from
be
you.
bothered.
You ghost him. It's
right.
It pays off in the end.
So if I were Jason, I would be somewhat of a frustrating partner. Although I think it's a good setup, but it's like, as far as where my heart is, it's not in pulling down your massive application with your 10 databases and finding this problem and debugging the same way a monkey would debug. Move this line, does it work? Remove this line, does it work? That's most of it, honestly.
Not
There's
value
no sacred
add for
knowledge.
you.
That's what we all do.
Yeah. If you hand me a simple reproduction of the bug in like an isolated way, like I can tolerate that. That's okay for my life, but it's the finding those and doing the reproduction myself that feels I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. So
okay, last question, and then Ian. So we got the income pie, we got the happiness pie. What is the economic purity pie? Which one do you feel best about taking money for in exchange for the thing you're giving back?
Yeah. Well, I would think to say screencasts, but there's a lot of times I think that's not the answer because there's a thing in the back of my head that's like you're paywalling important knowledge from your users. Okay. I think there will always be that for me. It's a conflict of interest for myself.
Because you are the creator.
Because I'm both the creator and the seller of education.
Okay.
So it not only, in theory, hurts Livewire's adoption because I'm not giving that for free. It helps because it pays my bills, which allows me to work on the thing. So it's like somebody's gotta fund it. Right. And this is how I'm going to fund it. But that's, I would say, otherwise, I feel great about providing something high quality that I put a lot of effort into and curated and produced and gave to you. And you pay this small amount and you get all this knowledge. People love it. really good feedback on it. So it's like great, but there's courses I want to make that aren't like the courses that are like, let's build an e-commerce app, sell that, fine. The courses that are like deep nesting component knowledge or like anatomy of a Livewire request is like, why are you going to paywall that? Like that should be in the docs, you know? And there's ways to mitigate that. Like I try to put everything in the docs. All knowledge I'm pulling from, I try to put in the docs. So it's like I put the knowledge out there. I'm just presenting it to you in a more on a silver platter in this format, and you pay for that convenience. But so that's morally mixed. Alpine components also morally mixed, because it's like I could, if I put all that stuff out for free, there'd be wider adoption, blah blah blah. That's tough too. So I guess the most wholesome income is the partners program, because that's just
the one you
trading
like
hours
the
for
least.
dollars.
Yeah.
The one I hate, very wholesome.
Okay, well, no further questions, Ian, to you.
But I actually don't care about the morality of the screencast for the most part, because that's fine.
I would just totally put that totally aside. I don't think there's any moral quandary there. I don't think at all. I mean, to me, you have to, if you stop working on Livewire, then all the documentation is totally useless and worthless, because Livewire is going to die at some point, right? It'll run for 6 months or a year or whatever, but the browser's going to change, something's going to change, Laravel's going to change, whatever. Then it's dead, right? So we need you, ideally even more of you. Like I would love to see like Livewire Inc. type of thing where there's a few more people around, right? Like that's even better. That's Jason
something we should talk about
that role, but he's
as
not
well.
Totally. He's not dedicated to Livewire full time. Is my
Who did you say kind of fills that role?
Jason.
Yeah,
like he's not like full time working on Livewire, right? So like
there is a person, and that's another complicated scenario. But there's like that's a whole other side quest of
right. It's like the
hiring
business
people and
Livewire,
that part of like hiring other people. But
I mean, I guess so. I think that you kind of have things, to me, like it's pretty interesting, because like I feel like your desire and the best short-term business aspects line up kind of with the happiness and even how things currently are. Like to me, screencast is the best thing. The components are probably second.
Yep.
The component, and then like the partner thing could be an awesome business, but also is a very different thing from what you want to do. And you should not be doing that at all, right? Like there should be zero Caleb time on like working on customer support. I think you doing like the partner calls and stuff's a little bit different. Because if you're a certain tier of the partner program, like whatever, that's like a little board for you. Like even like whatever, it's a sounding board. You can, whatever, it's an hour a month or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
But pulling down repos and generally being the support guy is not a good use of your time, right?
Yep.
So,
and to be clear, Jason does the majority. It's not that often that he's forced, that.
But he's also making the majority of the money, which isn't necessarily great from a Livewire Inc. perspective, right? So,
true. Very true.
So that's good that it's there as a resource for companies that want that, and so you have that, but it's not good from a sustaining Livewire perspective right now.
Yep.
So
true.
I mean, to me, the thing that's, I think the low-hanging fruit where you're already headed, my 2 cents, is like the screencast. But I feel like the screencast, that could be just the core, like the real core. Because like right now, if you go and like, first of all, obviously, they're not even linked really until like a week ago from the docs. So now you got them linked from the docs, which is good. But, and I believe the way, if it still works the same way, is like you have to sponsor the repo on GitHub to get the screencast. Is that right?
So the V3 stuff, I'm not charging for anything yet.
You're not doing anything yet. Okay.
So I'm working on a modals course right now.
Right.
When I launch that, it'll be paid, and I'm using Paddle. So I'm saying goodbye to GitHub sponsors.
That's good. I think that's a huge problem.
Yes.
And also, I think that you could just formalize that more. Like, because I see like on GitHub, you could see like your past sponsors and your current sponsors, and I'm assuming that maps kind of is essentially like your screencast subscribers, essentially.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
so I feel like if it was more like Livewire Laracasts, like you would be way better off financially, right? It's like basically there being an easier way to kind of like buy it and deal with it in some sense, and then also a promise that there is new content always coming. So like every month there's going to be new videos, whatever that means. I don't think you have to say it's a course necessarily, right? But it's like there's new videos every month. And then I'm going to stay subscribed because like, and whatever, you can do all kinds of stuff, right? You could have people submit questions and you go through their problems. Like you could do that kind of support where their problems become
public,
content, right?
content.
Yeah.
Things like
that would actually be pretty great. The only hurdle of that is like NDA type stuff, but
sure,
that's on them. They submit whatever they want.
And they
like,
can create a
people,
reproduction
exactly
of it.
Right, like people who actively ask for it, not even like the partner program support, but even just other people who ask questions, right? And you solve them on video.
Yes.
Yeah, and obviously formalized
honestly,
courses.
That could be a pretty good solution to this problem, because I like producing content. I love off the cuff content,
right?
You know, and so that's a way to kind of incentivize me to slog through things like that. And if it turns out it's a Livewire problem, let's solve it in Livewire.
Right.
If it turns out it's their problem, it's like, you know, maybe there's documentation we can add, or maybe this video just stands on its own as a cautionary tale or someplace to go
or
get
you
help.
could even pre-vet them. I think you could even formalize that. Like, right, you pre-vet them, be like, okay, I see this is where they're doing something wrong in Livewire, right? And so this is a good candidate for an actual video. So now I can make a video about how like this thing was wrong and here's how we fixed it and whatever. And it's 10 minutes because you've already looked at it. You know, I think you could balance that, right? Sometimes it's 2 hours of watching Caleb slog through and do monkey work. And sometimes you've already figured it out, or somebody else has already figured it out and given it to you, right? And said, here's the solution. And then it's 10 minutes of Caleb with a nice tight video about, look at this problem and here's how you fix it.
So is this, okay, let's say that I do this. I still have a few questions of like, how do people how do people land there? How do people go from having a problem to being on a screencast? That's one question.
Sure.
But another question is these are the two questions. How does somebody go from having a problem to being on a screencast with me? And the other one, how does somebody go from having a problem to finding that screencast to solve it? You know, I think there's naturally like, if you just subscribe to them, if I just notify you when new stuff comes out and you're just you're a dedicated content consumer, you'll gain that knowledge as you go. But that is probably a very small amount of people compared to who could be helped by a screencast like that. So is it transcripts that SEO picks up? You know, what is it?
No, I don't think this cleanly solves the get unstuck problem. I think this cleanly solves the Livewire Inc. problem.
I agree.
So I think this kind of content is we're actually going to start doing this for Playing at Scale, the code with me kind of stuff, or the like fix a query with me, because it's just such good content.
Yeah.
But it's like it's almost majority entertainment content, because it's like I want to sit down and watch Caleb fix a Livewire problem. I want to sit down and watch Aaron, make this query 10% faster or whatever, right?
Yep.
And I don't think this is I'm stuck in this moment, let me go watch a code with me of Caleb. So I don't think it solves that problem
so
at all.
we're not even talking about that path. This is more
I think
just another source of content.
Like I would I would just be cribbing off Laracast, to be honest with you. Like I would still SEO optimize it, right? Like I would have a nice title, I would have a video with a dedicated page, I'd get a transcript and throw it in there for SEO. So like it's great. Like as many people as can find it when they Google for it, awesome. Like because that's also going to be how you get subscribers. So you should absolutely do all that stuff. But I do also agree it's not the same thing as like, I don't think that, it's not about like, there's 100 people with questions. How many videos could you possibly do, right? You're going to do 4 a month, whatever number a month you're going to do, right? So like, it's definitely not going to be a support solution in general, but obviously as they build up over time, you will hit things and fix things. And that will be a long tail of information for people, whether some of them are free and some of them are only under the paid plan or however that all breaks out. Definitely SEO it all. But yeah, I think it's this is more about the Livewire Inc. making sure that there's a stable revenue stream and that people don't churn. It's like, I want to stay subscribed to this because you're producing useful stuff for me and my team. Becomes this repository of like, we have to build a modal. We've never done that in Livewire. We know Caleb has a video on that. We go do it. Or we need to integrate with React or Vue or whatever, some legacy thing, and eventually you'll get to those things, right? Like the longer tail of weird issues, and you'll have videos for those. As long as you're producing something regularly, people are just going to keep paying for it in general. I think like I would not unsubscribe from that. I'd just keep paying for it because someday I'm going to need something in there, even though I don't watch it every month.
I think that's right, and I think that also begins to create like in I don't know if y'all follow Amy Hoy from back in the day. She has this concept of like watering holes, which is where people on the internet gather. And if you have this like ongoing content, Laracast-esque thing, that starts to create the Livewire watering hole in like a more defined way.
Yeah.
And you throw up a pre-built forum or whatever. You build a forum as part of content, which is itself is interesting, 2-for-1 there. And then like the content and people getting unstuck can kind of come together because then you have like an active and vibrant
Laracast forum.
Yeah, you have a Livewire specific forum where people are submitting their problems that may or may not get picked for video content, but that's like secondary. But you've got Josh and Jason and Philo and all these people hanging out that are like, hey, here's the wire box of how you would fix that or whatever. And that may serve as like that part of it gets people unstuck, and then you kind of trawl the forums and pull out the best stuff for content.
Yeah, I like that watering hole analogy, and I've thought about when I was on that episode when I was talking about getting unstuck. Like I think I was describing some of this like this vision of like not just a docs site with screencasts, but the Livewire, mothership, like
hang place. Yeah.
Like you come here and there's a lot. It's like I don't know, it's an app that you're logging into, and now you have all sorts of ways to engage with the community, consume content, blah blah blah. And that appeals to me. That sounds great. I think the building it part is fine. Like I can build the things I want, hire designers and programmers for the things I don't want. I'm not a content, or I'm not a forum person. I'm not going to hang out in forums. I just never do. Right. So it would have to be, but Jeffrey doesn't hang out in the forums. Right.
No. Yeah, I don't think that's a big issue. Yeah. This is a big enough community. It's just about getting the community together to help each other in those spots. And then the screencasts and the docs are the core that they are, going around.
Right. Okay. Here's a question. This was my plan before we got on this call.
Okay.
So Ian and I are geniuses then. We just
No.
Completely
intuited. Different plan.
Different plan.
Tell you. Yeah. Back up.
No.
Take that part out.
I'll tell you what was my monetization strategy before this call, and then you can change my mind or go for it.
Okay.
I'm doing this modals series. I'm going to put it out as an independent course, like I don't know if you guys, so if you've ever bought like VST, like audio presets or like stock footage bundles or something, or even screencast or like desktop wallpaper bundles, it's like you go to this thing, they're $10 a piece, $10 to $50 a piece, and they usually have like some Photoshop template that they use that makes it look like a VHS tape, whatever, with the thing on it that's like, oh, I'm buying this bundle, even though it's just whatever software.
Right. Yeah.
So shows you that, and then there's like a all access pass or something. This was my plan. Is instead of it just being like gated access to everything, where you just pay to get in the door, whether it's recurring or lifetime, it's you can buy the lifetime all access, or if you can't afford that. And if you don't want to go all in on that, you can pay like this modals thing. I was thinking like $30 or something. It's like you could just buy this for $30. And I have another plan for like if I only have one and it's $30, and then you do that 5 times, and then I come out with the all access. I'll hook up all the people who've already paid.
Sure.
But this is sort of this was my plan, and the reason that I'm so drawn to it is because there's such an incentive for me to finish a course because I have fresh revenue to gain. It'll be a lot of people with all access, but it'll be a lot of people that'll be like, I love launching something. Launching's the best. That launch day of anything, Aaron knows. He just did one. You just watch, the money come in. It's so satisfying. You finished something.
You're eating Chipotle and getting rich. It's the best day ever. I love that day.
It is the best day ever. So if I could have a best day ever every month or two or something, that feels great to me. And it wouldn't feel like I'm on as much of a content treadmill because I'm not as focused on retention. I'm focused on generating new revenue. To me, it kind of removes some of those problems. The alternative, of course, is Laracast. Charge a monthly thing, maybe do a lifetime, whatever. Right. Just do that. Come in the door, pay your $15 a month or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I know from experience when I did this the last time that, and this probably has a lot to do with just the nature of the content treadmill for Livewire 2, where I just stepped off the treadmill. Right. But churn is brutal. And people know, this is why Adam, proselytizes the like one-time capture lifetime value up front for this kind of thing, because churn is so brutal. I would like crunch numbers and be like, most people are churning after 1 month. And I think there's if you look at like just people signing up for this stuff and sponsoring, it's a small portion of them are U.S. people named John Smith, a much wider portion of people from other countries with not as powerful currencies, that it's like, a one-time up front, which I switched to for Livewire V2, is prohibitively expensive. Where before it's like, I can come in for a month, I can get what I need to get right now while I'm jazzed about it, and then I can bounce. And now all I paid was $14, So these are the problems that led me to thinking that this is a good idea. But I am very much here for you to tell me, just Laracasts it. Just be Livewire Laracast and call it a day.
I mean, I would tell you be Livewire Laracasts for a number of reasons. I think that I just think you need that ongoing. I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not sure it solves the problem you think it solves totally, in that you still have to. So you sell a modals course. Yeah. And that is, that's going to like long tail the money, and then, but it's going to, be the launch and then drop presumably. Yep. And then you have to make another course.
I got to make another one, yeah.
Right.
But I'm incentivized to.
Yeah, but aren't you incentivized to if you had like $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 in just recurring revenue? I feel like
not as much for my brain. For my brain, it's like, I have that good revenue. I can take a breather and close some PRs.
But also the ability to take a breather is part of the benefit of if you're able to build that up, right? Is like, there could be a month where it's lighter, or you can do a bunch up front and then sprinkle them out over 3 months when you're, you get in the zone and build that up. Now, I agree. It's like Laracast has a broader audience, so it's easier, right? Because they're teaching you all kinds of stuff and whatever. And this is much more niche, of course. But
yep.
What is it? How does it work right now? It's one-time fee, or it's
it used to be $14 a month. Then I switched to $99 one time. Okay. It boosted revenue in the short term because I already had this recurring revenue, and then now I'm charging a lot more, so it boosted revenue, but the amount of people paying me now is less. Right. I mean, now it's on a long tail down because I did that, but even when it wasn't.
Well, and also like they're very hidden right now, and whatever, it's old and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Too. Yeah.
Before that, though, I think one time, and I've talked to Adam about this a bunch, like trying to convince him that one time is a bad idea for me, because he is all about the one time. Yeah. And he talks about it with Sam Selikoff and everything. Like he's trying to get like them into one time and all that. Yeah. It's like maybe for the React community that makes more sense. Maybe for the Tailwind community that makes more sense, which is largely React developers. Like I'm picturing wealthier people, basically. Where I think Livewire is more of a back-end PHP person, more of a lay program, a working man's framework. Yeah, like if that's not, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I have a few clarifying questions on your your ideal plan. So one thing I heard was you, Caleb, prefer the big release because it makes you happy, like it makes you excited.
It makes me happy. It incentivizes me. So that's just in general, yeah.
Yeah, that's like a distribution mechanism. I think separately from that, you were talking about a payment mechanism, which is, does the consumer buy one time or do they pay ongoing?
I see what you're saying.
And then I think there's I think those two things could be the same, but I don't know that they have to be the same.
Right, they're different and the same.
They're different and the same. If there's a way to marry like a distribution mechanism that keeps you incentivized and happy, and a payment structure that keeps the working man happy, that would be interesting. Yeah. But then I think there's a third thing that we've kind of talked about that your solution doesn't address, and that's becoming the hang space for Livewire. Because I think if you do purely like single course drops, that doesn't become like the community clubhouse. And I think you're the only person that can fully pull off community clubhouse. And I think there's a lot of like retention value and a lot of community value if there's a clubhouse where everybody can hang out.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that like, hey, we did the modals course, people are going to watch the course and then go away, versus I go to Livewire casts, .com every Monday and check out what's new and answer some forum questions and poke around, that kind of stuff. So I think there are a couple of different things to think about there. I wonder, is there a way where you could get, like, you could marry the distribution mechanism that you like with a ongoing recurring, because I feel like the ongoing recurring payment mechanism is ideal for revenue maximization, I think.
Yep.
But the distribution is ideal for Caleb's motivation and happiness.
I do think that capturing all the value up front definitely is good. It's not a bad way to go. I guess maybe my hesitation with it is more like, I don't know if I love the like per course, like here's this little widget course. I kind of like what you do for V2 if you were going to do that, which is it's $99. It's a whole bunch of stuff. And it's like, this is a small amount of money, and we can get to the international part in a minute, but generally speaking, is a small amount of money for a lot of information. And yes, you're going to capture a year of recurring revenue essentially up front, and you're just going to be fine with that. You're going to keep selling that. I think that would be fine too. And then maybe like you could have a couple of these, but I wouldn't like, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing it work where it's like, there's $50, $10 courses. Like, I think if you had like the Livewire screencasts, and then maybe there's some like the ultra advanced one that's like $2.99 or something that does, whether it goes through the internals or something like that. It's like a second one, but I could see that working. I mean, the thing you have to remember about comparing to Tailwind is, their SEO is insane. And so people just come in and buy. They don't ever have to sell to them, right? So like, and I think Livewire could have that. I mean, you're on the Laravel.com domain now. Like you have some advantages there. But then I think you have to like really flesh that out in a lot of different ways. Like the docs, you need like just more pages, like break topics out into different pages.
Sure.
Like,
what about, like, I mean, Laravel does like giant pages.
Right.
But
yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm just saying in terms of like Tailwind has 1 million pages though, right? Like every single topic has its own page, and that's how they sell. Taylor does.
Is that
make money
strategic on their part?
I don't think it started strategic, but I think it's a happy coincidence. Okay. But whether it's all kinds of different things, but you're going to want to get more content out there for this one-time sales funnel, right? Because you need to get new sales always. Every month there needs to be new sales. So, and the international, I think, is like, I'm not saying, first of all, before people get mad at me, I'm not saying like turn the Livewire docs into like, every little tiny thing. I mean, the Tailwind pages are kind of big because there's also a lot of stuff. Even if you go to width on Tailwind, right? Like there's like, how do you do your own width and like whatever, all this stuff. Like it's actually a pretty big page there too. But I actually think there could be tons of stuff on Livewire, like every one of those every event, I mean, there's a lot of stuff when you even just talk about one of these things, like there's actually other examples you could put there. There's actually a lot of stuff still not in the docs, even though the docs are way better than they were. Just pages that are just like all the possible, which is something the other day I was looking for, all the events in one spot. Like right now there's not even a page with all the events, or each event doesn't have its own page. Like the, like the initialization event and
I gotcha.
All those different type of events, right? Like they're all kind of mixed in. I don't think they all have their own pages. Like there's both not a directory of all the events in one spot, I don't think.
Okay.
As well as them all broken out with like their own examples and use cases and whatever. But
right. Yeah, like I needed something on Tailwind yesterday. I was trying to style a dialogue element, but style the backdrop of it. And it was like, I'm looking in the backdrop page and there's really not what I needed. And I just found some nook, like deep in the docs, that has an example of a dialogue element.
Right.
And they're not styling exactly what I wanted, but it's showing me like a path for the dot. And it was the same with like a custom animation, is like I could have constructed on my own knowledge that I could type animate hyphen and then use the bespoke bracket syntax to put in my own thing and use underscores and replace spaces. But I didn't have that knowledge and I couldn't assemble it over the entire documentation in that moment. But I was fortunate to find animate hyphen bracket this underscore that, you know.
Right.
So
right.
yes, 100%. Just like examples.
Right. Exactly. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, which feeds both directions, right? It's like better for just people reading the docs because like, hey, here's these examples. Better for SEO and being able to cross sell. And then the international, it's like I always see international as like, because first of all, you could just have different prices. Like you can just straight have different prices. And then I'm pretty sure Paddle would support that, but you can build it yourself via Paddle if you needed to, which is probably the route I'd go. And then the other way to just think about it, like people get caught up in that stuff, but like if you were to able to just get all the English speaking world, right, to buy a lot of this, like you're going to be a super wealthy man, right? So
right.
You know, so there's also like that of like the market you can focus on, but then also, sure, like obviously the open source projects have huge international audiences, so it's great to let them help fund the project. So yeah, I would probably just go different prices.
Some international
whatever. What do you
person
care
is
if it's
listening to Ian
$10
say,
in India?
"Let me help fund the project."
We're family here. This is a capitalist show. But
they want you.
So if it's $10 in India, right? Great, and like that's fine. And it's $100 in America, and it's whatever. Like you just have different price points. That's what Apple does. When you change an iOS app's price, it's literally you get 100 different countries. And you set prices in 100 different countries.
Really?
And they have an automated way that they'll like say, okay, if you put this in America, like we can cascade it through based on whatever,
just assign
what it should be for that region.
Look at what they do for like for each country.
Yeah, like
Jack McDade has a purchasing power parity site that we use for screencasting.com.
Yeah, the Big Mac Index. I've like hesitated to do straight PPP because I feel like it sells me so short, because it's like, well, you live in a country where Big Macs cost, but my Big Mac still costs this, you know. It's like
I only do it if someone emails me.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. Right?
Yeah, I mean you
on a
you
one-off
can do it
basis,
that way.
But,
exactly.
I mean, who knows? I wouldn't get caught up building a large advanced infrastructure to handle this necessarily, at least on phase one. But at the same time, I think it might make sense to do if there's such a huge percentage is international too. Like if there's just a half price version, and it's, you know, even something like that, it's half price, whatever. But yeah,
right, can we back up 1 second?
Yeah.
What is the excitement of the distribution model for you? The single course distribution model? Is it like the building up and working towards something and releasing a finite and complete package, or is
every
it
software developer loves that?
Bunch,
Come on.
Yeah, is it getting a whole
we never
bunch
get to
of
finish
money
anything
on one day? Like, what is the part that mentally works for you?
It's both. The money is a big part of it because a launch day is nothing without a refreshing the paddle page.
Sure.
You know, so that's a huge part of it, of like working towards that, and then like doing the tweet and designing. You know, like doing that. Like when there's money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to launch that thing, I start doing things I wouldn't normally do.
Right.
I make nice meta images in Sketch.
You
and
do
put
everything
a bunch of time
right.
into that.
Yeah.
I do all the things because it's like I do the things that Caleb doesn't normally do when he's just being his lazy self, putting stuff out there. It's like a mini little launchy thing, and so I love that. But I mean, I would still do some degree of that because it does bump revenue. It still is a launch. It's just not maybe what I
just think you're thinking about this maybe. I think you might be just thinking about this a little bit incorrectly in the idea of like, just look at your own proof you have, right? So forget about subscription or one time. I mean, I think one time might make a lot of sense. It does obviously lower the barrier. People are much more hesitant to subscribe to something, even if it's $15 a month. A lot more people will probably buy it at $99 than subscribe at $15 or whatever. Like, because it's just like low
That's
burden.
fair.
I just buy it and it's done, right? So that's fine. Look at screencasts. What you're selling right now. You said you think it's like around $10,000 a month still.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like
That's
you haven't
insane.
done anything with version 2.
That's a huge amount.
Right?
Yeah, I haven't like put out a new video in like two and a half years, I think.
Huge
You can't even
amount.
find these videos. Like if you like, it's literally hard to find these videos.
Yeah.
Ian is so mad that you don't link the videos better. That's the fourth
they're
time
so
he's brought it
bad.
up.
So you're still $10,000 a month on these videos that are old, not linked from anywhere relevant, and you haven't
They're
done a
linked
new
in
one
the
in
docs,
2 years.
though.
Are they? No, not anymore. The
every
Livewire 2
docs-
ones?
Yeah, every docs page at the top says "Be amazing at Livewire. Watch our screencasts."
No, that was
Maybe
only
because
from a
Ian's
week
logged
ago.
in or something.
That hasn't been there though.
That's been there for years.
Really?
It's the only reason that.
No, in the
once I put
in
that
the Livewire
simple
3 docs.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know.
That's
That's
what-
what
I
I'm
didn't
saying.
have
talking about.
screencasts for Livewire 3
I
before
know,
I
but
put
I'm
that link up.
saying like you only have these links in the Livewire 2 docs, but Livewire 3 is like what everybody's focused on, right? So I'm saying
Right.
you're not getting.
But I'm not going to
any-
link them to V2 stuff.
I understand.
these docs
But
are so
that's what I'm
pretty.
saying, though. That's what I'm saying. Like these Livewire 2 videos are still selling off the
Yeah.
old version of the old
Yes.
docs, right? Like,
Yes, 'cause people
not
go to the
off
old
of-
docs for
right.
right.
Like they still go to the old docs or whatever, but like. Everybody's currently focused on Livewire 3. Obviously, there's a lot of people still on Livewire 2, and I'm sure they're going to
it's
look
big
at the docs, right?
transition.
Right.
Yeah.
But even on the new hotness on the Laravel.com domain, right up until like a week ago, there was no links to any videos at all. And even today, there's no links to videos you can pay for. So I feel like that is.
And you're still
a lot
making
of-
$10,000 a month,
Yes,
which
you're
is
still
Ian's
making $10,000
point.
a
Yeah.
month. So I'm saying if you had like, once you get the full Livewire 3 transition and blah, blah, you get these linked from the docs like you do have now, right? And there's actually a way to pay for them once the pay part is ready. And then you maybe start to get a little more sophisticated where it's linked from, making sure things are SEO optimized properly for that and everything. Like, I feel like that's going to be a pretty good business there. Like,
Okay.
and I don't know about like the dropping down to per course makes things a lot more complicated. Like,
I just think that's a bad idea, personally.
yeah, I think it's a lot more complicated. Like, I want all these, or then there's a group purchase thing, and there's like, just let me pay $99 and get all the videos you made. Like,
Let
that's
me pay $199.
I mean,
and let me
I would
get-
pay
yeah.
$599, right? Like, whatever. Have
Okay,
the
Ian
team
wins.
thing
I'm
for
not paying that
$599.
much.
Like, have the non-team one for, whatever.
Yeah.
You have whatever tiers you want to come up with, right? I don't know if we're gonna be able to hash that out right now, but I would definitely have a team tier. I would definitely have like the regular tier. Maybe there's like you get more for a little more money, whatever. Third tier, and yeah, like I don't know. I wouldn't overthink it in that way.
I hear you. I'm mostly convinced. For the purposes of this episode, I'm 100% convinced.
Okay.
Trash the one-off course thing, and now I have a new slew of questions on how to do this well.
Hit him.
Okay.
Let's go.
There we go.
So, first one, well, I want to talk about how much to charge. For sure. How much am I charging for monthly, team, and personal all time?
Personal lifetime, I think $199.
Yep. I agree.
Like 199.
Because
Personal
you
lifetime-
do have to remember there's some component of like, I am a fan of Caleb / I am a supporter of Livewire. And like,
I
It
also
definitely feels
think-
like there's not enough content to justify that price tag right now. And that's
Right, that
another
might be the
question of
case.
like deferring the introduction of that. But I feel like it's not even worth it. It's more worth figuring out. Let's just pretend that a year from now
pretend it's
there's
done.
a good
Yes.
body of work.
Yeah.
And then
Act as
199 is a no-brainer.
I think
The other
so.
thing, and this might be a little bit of a solution to your make Caleb happy when cash register goes ring, ring, ring problem, is you can do that same type of thing. We're going to get very commercial here with sales. Like, hey, there's a Black Friday sale. There's a spring
always a nice
sale,
thing.
right? Like there's like build up to these moments throughout the year. There's a Cyber Monday sale, whatever. Like there's all
Launching
the
a new
things.
course, emailing my whole list and launching a new course that I charge $30 for feels fine to me. Emailing my whole list and even doing one sale, I feel like the dirtiest MFer on the planet, and I hate it. I hate Black Friday. I hate all of it every time.
These people
I'm
who
like,
paid you $199 are going to see that now you're only charging $129 for the next
don't
3
Yeah,
days
email
or whatever.
them.
that guilt.
I know.
Right,
Well, if
I
you
know. but
tag rightly and you use
still.
the ConvertKit
Yeah.
right, they won't even see it. That's true.
I know. There's that. Right. Okay. Being really good about tags and emailing the right people for things is definitely something that could mitigate a lot of that guilt.
Right.
It's there's still just touch guilt that's like, oh, I touched you again, you know? and it's every time I touch and I'm not providing value, it's
Which,
like
I mean,
I feel
think
bad.
That's a secondary thing, right? I think if you do a really great job with the static components of this, which is like the Livewire docs, the cross-selling, whatever, the different touch points that you can cross-sell on, I think that alone, if you're already making $10,000 a month, like I don't see why you can't sell $30,000 a month or $40,000 a month, like, or more. Like I think you could. So it's just about getting those other parts dialed, and that's all the stuff to dial in first. But I think still building up your mailing list. Like I know you do have a mailing list. I don't know, that's linked from nowhere also, I think. But if you built up the mailing list and stuff like that, you know, long tail stuff with that. But I think just working off the docs as your baseline play. I mean, listen, that's how Tailwind, right? That's Tailwind's docs are its whole money engine. And I think Livewire would be the same thing.
And it already, I mean, as we've talked about, it is like, I figured that out 3 years ago.
Same with Alpine Components,
and was like,
right?
Oh my gosh, like I have a massive distribution channel, so I can just, you know, I don't even need to send an email, you know? This is kind of another question. So, well, let's answer that first one. $199. Okay. How much do I charge monthly? Wait, is it 9 or 14?
If you did monthly or if you did
monthly.
Okay. So you're not talking about one-off purchase. You're talking about subscription.
Talking about, right.
Okay. So
which I think is what I would want. I don't think I want to only do one-off. I think I would want to do Laracast rip-off.
Okay. Try subscribers. Then I would go.
I did 14 on Livewire V2 forever, and that worked great. But I imagine that churn curve where it's like they all drop off after 1 month, then the rest drop off after 2 months, and then most after 3, and then 4 they're all gone. If it was like 9, it might be like a more shallow
the one-off price for this so much in terms of it just depends. See, I like the subscription.
I do.
If you're going to do, I like the subscription if you're going to do the commitment to it of like, I'm here every month with new videos. I'm talking about the new videos all the time.
For the foreseeable future, I'm gonna be doing that.
Then I like the subscription.
Where I, at least just based on past, you know, like offense, it's a possibility that 6 months from now I lose interest in the content and I let that go, and then I can rip out the monthly and go to. But for right now, like I'm gonna be keeping the balloon up because it's my favorite thing to do. I'm incentivized to do it, you know.
I mean, you can always have other people doing
like
videos
Aaron
too.
Exactly. There's people like Aaron. There's Philo. There's other people who, I'm signing you up, Aaron.
Yeah, I don't know. People like me that do what?
That I can go
awesome
like,
videos.
Aaron, make a series.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like we do for Laracast. I do it for Laracast. Aaron does it for Laracasts.
Right.
Yeah. And that's actually another question, but I'm building this list of questions without hearing how much I should charge per month.
I think 9 is too low.
9
is way too
12?
low. 12 is too low.
You know what I like?
A month?
I honestly like is the pushing the annual. I'm a big fan of the annual, subscription. It's like $99 a year. I kind of like that. It's like under 100. And then maybe
still
there is
like
a
it if there's a monthly option that's higher.
I would probably start with $99 a year. Is that what Laracast does?
Or
okay.
$15 a month.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that. Like, whatever. If you want to overpay substantially because you know you're only going to use it for a few months, then it's $15 or whatever. Otherwise, it's like this great deal at $99.
I'll bump it $1 because I don't have as many videos as Laracast.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Because he has 20,000 hours of content more than me. I'll bump it $1. So let's say 14 a month. Let's say 89 a year.
This isn't Laracast in that, like,
correct.
This is for a niche audience.
Yeah, it's
and this
not
is going to go way deeper, right? I'm sure there's 20 Livewire videos on Laracast already, right? Like, if you want the Livewire overview, it's already there. But if you want the, like, we're going down in deep, then that's what this is. So I feel like that's a different thing.
Okay, so 14 a month, 89 a year, 199 all time.
So
for a lifetime?
199 lifetime, that's like 2 years of yearly plan.
I mean, I think in the traditional sense, you would make it higher, like generally speaking, but I don't necessarily hate it for this in terms of getting
I can
some
even
money
just
into
not
it
do
early.
lifetime right now.
Yeah, I mean, the way Larrycast does it again, like we could just steal. I think he only does it. I don't know if it's permanent now, but he used to only do it like a few times a year. Like, hey,
No,
this is your one
he's
chance.
got it on the page right here.
Now
Yeah,
it's
it's
permanent.
$3.99. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the longest
$400.
time, it didn't exist. Like we all remember like forever it didn't exist, and then he introduced it for like Black Friday, and then now it's just available. So it's like I don't feel that weird not offering it out of the gate.
I mean, I would put it there because, like, if you can get 3 years up front, like, I would go more like 3 years, maybe like $2.99. Right. Like, make it a stretch,
make it
like,
expensive. See what happens. $2.99.
I'm gonna instantly buy it, right?
True.
Like, there's a handful of people that are for sure are just gonna instantly buy it, and I think you'll get some over time that buy it.
Okay. Larrycast ripoff model, $14 a month, $89 a year, $2.99 lifetime. Black Friday sales, the way people standard do them.
Right.
I have 2 more burning questions. One is, this is just if you can't tell, I'm a like pretty hesitant and guilty capitalist. So
that's why we're here.
That's why we're here to break you.
Yes. So the idea of, even with sales, but let's forget sales. Let's say that I'm charging monthly. You know what? I guess if I laid this all out right now, I wouldn't have to deal with this problem. But you know what? I still do. Because what if you've been paying $14 a month to sponsor me for the past 3 years, and now to get on V3 stuff, you have to pay another $14 a month and cancel your other thing? What if you paid $99 for V2 a week ago, and now you go to this and you're like, crap, I just paid $99. Like, what I am thinking of doing is like literally scraping like all the data I have from GitHub and assigning everybody like a credit value in the database that I can go from and do what I want with, but give built-in like smart discounts for people who've like been subscribed for a certain amount of time, paid me a certain amount. It's like, hey, you already paid me a bunch of money. This is free, right? Or, there's like a credit that you have that you can work down,
Yeah, I think you could go too far with that, but I don't think it's a bad idea. If somebody paid $99 a week ago and then you move to an entirely different payment platform and payment model and you say you got to pay $99 again, I would be frustrated. If I've been paying you $14 a month for 3 years and you move to a new payment platform and you're like, you got to pay me $14 a month, but you can cancel the old thing. Like, what do I care? That's the exact same thing.
Right.
So I wouldn't try to do it with mathematical accuracy, but I would take into account like the big emotional pain of, I just paid $99. This sucks.
Yeah.
I definitely would not build anything.
Yeah,
don't build anything for this. Like, this is a zero build zone. Like, it's totally like, tell some people to move over, maybe look back the last month or two and just give those people, here's a credit. You already have one coupon code. You give everybody, it's like $99 off or whatever, right? And they can just move over. And that's it. Like,
and I think you get to send an email. Code. Yeah, send an email being magnanimous Caleb and being like, hey, I know some of y'all, you don't even have to look. You don't even have to do any research on your own. Just send an email saying, hey, I know some of y'all probably bought it last week. If that's the case, I don't want you to feel put out in the cold. Send me an email. I'll send you a coupon. And then you're a good guy, Caleb, and you didn't do any work.
You don't want to miss all the people who pay you now. You need to email every single person who pays you now or has ever paid you and be like, hey, V3 docs, screencasts, the whole thing's ready. Go here and buy it. P.S. If you already pay me or you just recently in the last, month, like Aaron says, paid me $99, then hey, we're going to straighten it out with you, whatever. And then, they can contact you.
Yeah.
But most other people are just going to move over and do it because you don't want to lose all these people. You want to capture all these people who want to pay you money. Like,
and imagine all of the like proper business owners in the world that paid $99 2 months ago. What are they going to do? They're just going to buy the new thing. They're not going to email you
and buy it again. Yeah, they're never going to. Let me give you an example. We just raised the prices.
20 hours giving them a coupon when they wouldn't use it.
We just raised the prices on HelpSpot customers 25%.
Yeah.
On the certain the older tier of customers, which is the majority of customers by far, like 80% of the customers. And so we sent this out to hundreds and hundreds of people. They're paying tens of thousands of dollars, some of them, right? And some of them are paying $1,000. Nobody's paying less than $700. That's the minimum.
Okay.
And we raised it 25%, and we've literally gotten like 8 emails, and like literally like 4 of them were just people confused about like unrelated, and there's like 2 people who were like slightly mad out of hundreds and hundreds of customers. So like people, I mean, listen, your stuff's a little bit different because there's going to be more just like
it's not
consumers,
business.
right? Some of them are businesses and some of them are consumers, so you have a little more of a mixed audience. But even so, I think you're going to have very few issues. You deal with the people who email you by being overly generous. Like, that's what we always do. Yes, discounts, a year at the same price, whatever we got to do to make you happy, right? We just make you happy, and that's it. And then everybody's happy and it's fine. So I wouldn't overthink that for sure. And I would just be emailing people. The new one's ready. Handle any complaints as they come, and that's it.
Okay.
Because any percentage thing you work up, somebody's going to be mad. It's going to be mad anyway.
Yeah.
And you just did 20 hours of like programming work to like figure it all out, and it's just not worth it.
I like it. Yeah. Aaron, you got the right move. Just be like, if you're like mad about this at all, just email me.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's no problem.
The play.
That's the way. Then I don't have to do any more work up front.
Right.
And then that work after might not be that bad.
And you can't hide behind the fact that you have to do all that work before you pull this thing off.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, right. That's
and that's
I would launch the new thing, but I got to write this script. It's like
I'm doing that.
That's 20 hours of video.
Especially dealing with freaking GitHub's API is like basically not even a possibility to do this without literally contacting the team and being like, I need this information. Send me CSV.
You don't want to get into that.
Okay, I got two other questions because we're killing it. We're almost to just like the perfect business. So I do something that I wonder if it's shady or not, but I do it confidently, and I probably won't stop unless you really tell me it's even if it's illegal, I might not stop.
It seems unlikely with us, but let's hear it.
So I have a list of email address. My email list is like 35,000 people or more. Like it's a lot. And I put out this new like free series, and I put it behind a GitHub login. So you have to log in to watch it. It's free. Okay. But if you go to Livewire 3Docs, you have to hit a login with GitHub button. It takes 2 seconds, and now you're in. I put your name in a database. You're a user in my system with an email that I pulled from GitHub's API. And then I put that email into a ConvertKit list that's clearly marked as like free tier people.
Okay.
And so I just launched it. I silently launched this. I didn't even tweet about it. And in like no time, I just looked at the database and there was like 300 people. And then like now there's like 3,500 or something after like a week or two. So it feels like an amazing hook, you know?
Yep.
I consider those people reach outable. They didn't double opt in. I never told them I was going to send an email. There's an unsubscribe link at the bottom. And I guess I don't want to throw any other business owners under the bus, but there's another prominent one that we know that doesn't do double opt-in at all, that does something very similar to this. That's like, no, you got the free video. Like you logged in. If you want to stop being reached out to, hit unsubscribe. But, you know, and my like open rates are still pretty good. People aren't, I'm not sure I've ever had somebody yell at me about it. But, you know, ConvertKit definitely doesn't want you to do it.
Right.
They're like, don't do this.
I mean, double opt-in is definitely not any kind of legal requirement.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So that's irrelevant. Like, that's just what people want you to do. You don't have to do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that this is like that borderline, right? I don't know what Aaron thinks about this, but like signing up for an app. I mean, I think it would be probably to your benefit to put some type of like wording somewhere just in case that like you're some kind of link to the terms of service, and like it's in there that like if you sign up for our screencasting application that we're going to email you, but you can unsubscribe at any time, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I would probably have something. I mean, you should probably have terms anyway. Like, everybody should really have terms for the services they're offering. And then legally you'd be fine. But I generally don't have too much beef with it. I don't know. What do you think, Aaron?
No beef. Zero beef.
All right,
beef not detected. Here's the thing. First of all, what is GDPR? I have no idea. That is not our problem.
Sure either.
Second of all,
do know, but we're not going to get into it now.
Yeah, I don't know about it. Don't care about it. This is Texas after all. So I think the other thing is like you sign up. Like if you sign up for an application, like if you log into an application, I feel like they're going to email you. They're going to email you all the time.
That's definitely an assumption.
Yeah.
That is like I assume that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's totally fine as long as you have unsubscribe
and my emails
links.
like I bought something on AliExpress, and now I get like they keep selling me stuff, and whatever. I'm like, this, for some reason, it's not in my promotions thing. It like comes to my phone and I'm like, screw you, AliExpress, you freaking idiots.
Yeah.
But my emails are not that often, and I'm literally writing them. You can reply to them and it'll go to my inbox and I'll reply to you.
Right.
And it's just when I'm providing you value, basically, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's totally fine. I know the European police are on their way to arrest me, but I feel like it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think
when they come for me, I'll send them to you.
Yeah.
But I would put a terms of service up somewhere just to have.
Yeah,
I think that'd be good.
that's a big boy thing I've never
that's
done
a big
and
boy
wouldn't know
one.
how to do.
You should do that.
ChatGPT can write that.
Yeah, you could. There's
All
a
good.
million templates and whatever. ChatGPT could definitely do it.
Definitely use ChatGPT for anything legal, because that's how
This
you
is
know
legal
you're getting
advice.
you're getting the best legal advice, as if a computer writes it for you.
I got one more if there's time.
Yeah, there's time.
There's plenty of time.
I got a couple things too. We got to still cover, so we got a little more
Okay.
time here. Hopefully, Aaron's got time.
All right. Then, so this is the final thing I need clarification on to complete the business.
Oh wow.
It's the general question is, how do I pay other people who help me? So if I'm paying Aaron to produce a series, like Jeffrey pays you a chunk, you know, out of the gate. That's it. You just get a chunk. It's a generous chunk, and now it goes into his pool of content. The other model before, something I was excited about it, was being able to go to Aaron and be like, hey, produce a series. I'm going to charge this much, and I'm going to give you a percentage of that, sales for that. Lifetime people, you don't get a percentage. But if somebody buys your one-off thing, you get 30% or something like that. And Aaron could make some pretty good money on something like that. So that felt great to me, because I love partnerships where it just feels like we both win, and it's like, I'm gonna be pumped because I'm making more money. It's your content, so you're gonna be pumped, you're making more, you know. So that felt nice. In this scenario, there's the question that I don't care about as much, which is, how much do I pay Aaron when he makes a course for me? The question I care about more, it's a bigger question, so we should probably start with that. But the big picture for Livewire is, I want to make a first-party component library where there's a generous, free amount of components that you can just use, and then there's a paywall behind all the crazy ones that take us 1 million hours to maintain and build, and you pay some amount. Like, this is going to be the destroyer of worlds. Like, if this is going to be the hardest thing for me to do, the biggest thing and hardest thing for me to tackle. But when I do, I will probably, almost definitely, partner with somebody on a percentage basis. If that person didn't exist, this would be a no-brainer for me. Because it would be on the table for me to just include it in the bundle. Livewire Pro, you get access to the watering hole, you get these components. It's even more reason to sign up. Maybe I can justify bumping the price or put it on another tier, you know. But if I'm partnering with somebody and I already have this thing going, it's like, how do I give you 20% of profit on Livewire components if it's mixed in with everything? You know what I mean?
Can I clarify the question?
Yeah.
So I think maybe I heard two questions. One is,
There's two questions.
How do you pay content?
How do I pay
creators?
Aaron, and how do I pay like a partner?
But then you just dropped an Oppenheimer on us by saying there's an entirely new, like, Livewire components. Yeah, that was kind of a surprise.
We're gonna be here a while.
Yeah. Back up. Let's back
Cancel
up
your
one
lunch plans.
second.
Like,
yeah,
we got a lot to talk about.
So let me answer the first question as a content creator, newly minted content creator.
As a influencer.
Content creator, please. I don't
Please.
like the profit share model as a content creator. So
100%
LinkedIn Learning does this. I think Egghead does this.
Yeah, but their profit share models suck. Mine would make you rich.
Okay, if you make me rich, I'm happy. I think so. LinkedIn Learning approached me about a course, and we talked money, and it was like, oh, this sucks. And I think Egghead pays off of percentage watch. Like, they do a giant pool, and then they pay off of percentage watch. The problem,
Egghead sucks. LinkedIn Learning sucks.
Yes.
Lynda sucks.
Yes, they all
Udemy
suck.
sucks. They all suck.
You know who
because
doesn't?
It's a massive generalist.
You know who doesn't suck is Lyricasts.
Lyricast doesn't suck.
And Lyricast pays
100%.
you. It pays you up front a chunk. And you know what? I wonder if Jeffrey made 10 times as much money off of my course as he paid me. I don't care. I'm still happy. Like,
that is my feeling as well when I work for Jeffrey.
Super happy
There's
with
your
the amount
answer.
of money. Yeah.
Question answered.
And I don't want
money up front.
I don't want to be running numbers and being like, oh wow,
Yes.
okay, well,
Who
Caleb's
wants to
telling
be-
me
you don't want
he
to be
gets
in business
1,000
together.
viewers a month. Yeah, I don't want the risk. I want you to pay me money. I'm gonna go out and get a McFlurry with all my new money. You're happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. That's
100%.
The only
answer.
problem with this answer is that I have to change something fundamentally about my business brain. I am a garbage businessman, and this is one of the reasons I am like, I would much rather partner with you and you get a long-term revenue stream than pay you up front less
don't
than
want
you'll
that.
make
That's
in
a
general.
hard
People
no
don't want
from
that.
the Mostly
People-
Technical Podcast.
You
People
know what
don't
I'm
want
saying
that.
though?
Yes.
It's like when I partnered with Jason on anything, it's like, here, you just get this amount. I'm not out any money up front. And then when I win, you win.
Nah.
And now
No.
you just keep doing work for me for free because you get a bunch of money anyway.
Don't
Yes.
like any sides of it.
Yeah,
No
I
side of it.
hear
I
you.
told you I'm a bad
I
businessman
hear you,
because of
and
this.
you're wrong. But yes, I totally
Yeah.
Well, here's the
hear
thing,
you.
because
That's
like what Aaron
amazing.
says, most people, I just think people don't want to be in business with you. From your mindset, you
Yeah.
are giving them something, but from their mindset, it's a lot of risk to take on, right? So like,
True. I
So they
encountered
just
this
want,
with somebody I
here's just
approached for the
money.
components idea. I was like, they like didn't have the confidence I have. And I'm like, what are you talking
So
about? You're
the
the
components,
fool, man.
components is a different
I
idea.
mean,
This
but
is a no-brainer.
well, I actually don't think the components is different at all. So I don't think but on the
Great.
videos,
I do.
like, so we could disagree there in a second.
Yeah.
But on the videos, because here's the other thing. So from their perspective, they just want a big chunk of money right now, which is
Yeah.
you don't love that because it's costing you a big chunk of money right now. But
Yeah.
you're going to probably be able to make that money back if they do a good job with it. Or in our newer model we've been talking about, it's probably not even going to happen for months and months down the line here, in which
Right.
case you already have subscription revenue, in which case
Yes.
that's great, fine.
And then I can drop some absurd. Just
And-
picturing what Jeffrey drops, like to drop that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like
right,
that
well,
would
you're
take
not
some
going to necessarily
serious.
pay what they pay because
Yeah.
you're not getting
Aaron,
as much
you
value
heard it here,
necessarily as he
Aaron.
pays.
When I pay you, it's,
Yeah.
But the other
Yeah, you're
side
making
is-
a strong case for me doing a course for you, buddy.
The other side of it, though, is for you got to be very careful, and this is also true of the components, of what you own. If
Yeah.
you want to make this a business that you run for a long time, who owns what is extremely important, and the things that are tied in with that is critically important. And if you have a bunch of stuff, but it's not clean, it's like, well,
Yep.
this thing has this tied to this person, and this other thing
Right.
has this tied to this other person, but now I want to offer this bundle thing, and how the hell do I do
That is
that?
true.
Like, or somebody wants to buy something from me someday and start some other thing, or I want to partner with somebody as a true partnership, not this like one-off thing. I want to start a true partnership for this other video site, and I want to use all the content I have, but now I can't because Aaron owns
all
a
these
little
people
piece,
are gonna
and
feel
somebody else owns a
screwed,
little
yeah.
piece, and like maybe I just legally can't even use their content. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot there that I feel like is a huge negative when
Yeah.
it's so much cleaner to just be like, here's money.
yeah, make it
take
clean.
money.
I own everything. Here's money.
If Jeffrey sells Lyricasts to lynda.com right now, what do I have to say? I got paid.
Right, you
My-
got
I'm
paid.
out. I'm not his
he
partner.
owns your
He paid me.
videos. The Lynda.com's not like, oh, what are all these contracts you
Yeah,
have
what are
with
these
randos?
400 independent contractors
yeah,
we have to
like,
pay?
It's like,
Yeah.
nope, I own everything. It's all done. Blah, blah, it's all clean. Super
Make
important.
it clean. Pay
Super
people
important.
money. Grow
I
up,
can't
Caleb.
even
Take the
express
hit.
how important it is. It's
Don't be an
incredibly
idiot.
important. And along these lines, contracts, man. Gotta have contracts.
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 Where do you get
Did
those?
we sign a
That's a
contract
ChatGPT
with
thing as well?
Lyricasts?
You must have. There's no way Jeffrey
I
does
don't
it without
know.
a
No,
contract.
there's no contrast.
I don't think there's a
Oh,
contract.
Are you
Oh.
serious?
I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
Are you
so.
sure you didn't
This
click a
is Jeffrey
button
we're talking about.
somewhere? Man,
No,
I'm
this is
shocked
like-
he didn't have a contract.
He'll just no.
He like
Zero
telegrammed
contract.
me 4
I am
times and then
shocked
sent
he
me
doesn't have a contract.
direct deposit. I feel like that was all
Straight
that happened.
No,
shock.
he's the most low touch, person with this kind
Hell,
of thing.
I don't know. When Lydia.com comes and they're like, do you own all this stuff? He's going to be like, yes. And they're going to say, show me.
Who's
And then
Lydia?
he's gonna-
Who's
he's gonna say-
Lydia.com? There's
he's
no
gonna say-
Lydia.com.
Whatever that thing is. He's going to say, look at these. Look at
I
these.
knew. I already pictured like Lydia herself.
Look at these.
She's like yellow.
Look at these
She's like a
telegrams I got
drawing.
from Aaron Francis from 7 years ago. This is how I know I own it. I don't know. But
That's
anyway,
so funny. I mean,
that's
it's funny in his case, and in my. I mean, this is because I'm a bad business person. To be like, oh, just it's just Aaron. I'll just be like,
Yeah, I'll just telegram him
Aaron,
again.
just,
Yeah.
Aaron, can you tell him that I own this?
It's probably enough
That's
for
my style.
this type of thing because it is in writing ultimately that like, hey, I said.
I smell you. There should be like something that says like
a one-pager.
I own this.
A one-pager that's just like keeps it all. Everybody's. It's just even good for like. You're reading something formal. You agree to do this thing. Everybody's on the same page. Like,
where would we be without you, Ian?
I don't know. Business dad.
I am like the business dad of the Laravel community. Like, I mean, there's somebody else that there's multiple people I've had to talk to about this where I try to buy their commercial components. And they don't have any. There's no license. And
imagine that. Not a thing.
Not
a thing.
A software without a license. Like it's horrible. It's terrible. Like I can't use this in my product if there's no license because
Ian is the only grown up in the Laravel community.
I know.
What if you? Because like, listen. What if you tell me later, or you try to claim later that it's GPL? Well, now my whole application is completely open source because that's how GPL works.
Yeah.
And
sneaky.
Yeah, like you can't. I need a license. Like I have to have a license if I use the software. So
my like visualization of the legal world and everything, it's like, but it's not, right?
Yeah, come on, hey. a little bit of hey.
Don't we all know this? Like, is it,
a little bit of an elbow nudge. Hey, come on.
Yeah,
hey, we're good, right? Hey,
well, it's all good.
All right, I got 5 minutes.
Right.
I want to tell you my Livewire components thing, and then you guys can keep talking. I think Livewire components is totally different.
Okay,
I think it's totally different than the screencasting thing. So screencasting, I say if you ever have a content creator, you pay them up front and go about your separate ways, and you pay up front after delivery because screencasters never finish anything. So I think Livewire components feels like, I don't know, it feels as separate to me as Alpine components. Like you wouldn't roll in Alpine components into Livewire Pro screencasting tier or whatever.
Maybe I would. I don't know.
Oh, maybe you would. Okay, well, that's a
they have done that with
bad premise.
Well, the Livewire Partners program is that it's like you kind of get all the other stuff along with the support.
Like,
I agree.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, that's
I'm just going to power through it. Okay,
power through
it. What else? What else could we say? It's kind of like refactoring UI and Tailwind UI. Like they feel fundamentally separate to me. And I think you could, because I think part of the thing is you could sell the Livewire components to people who never, ever, ever want to watch screencasts, right? And so, like, bundling those things economically doesn't make a ton of sense to me. And
to me, it's Tailwind UI and It's Tailwind UI, the whatever things, and then it's his application examples, or it's Catalyst that he's going to roll in there as well.
Yeah, like, that'll be interesting to see what they do there.
Because you're a Tailwind user, I'm going to want Catalyst. I'm going to want UI. And if you're a Livewire power user, you're going to want the screencast. You're going to want the components.
I think you need to pay for them. I don't know. I wouldn't put them in the same
This is bad businessman Caleb being like,
I would put him in a fully separate.
Paid me for this other thing. Like,
you're
paying
for content.
Thing.
You're paying for education. You're paying for entertainment. And then you're paying for software. And I think you sell them separately because the people that pay you $14 a month may also turn around and have their companies pay you $399 for Livewire components, and like you're gonna give those away for $14.
And it's a different business.
It's
like,
a different business.
Totally different in every way.
The bundling gets weird. Like even with the way the current support stuff is now, right? It's like, well, it's $500 a month, but I get this thing that costs $20. Like that's just weird. Like I don't know. Like the free $20. There's weird messaging. Like just if I'm buying support, I'm paying for support. Or if I'm buying for the components for $99, I'm buying components for $99 one time or whatever. Like just throwing them in. There is that tendency to want to throw stuff in to like add value, but I actually think it like makes the messaging harder.
Here's what you could do.
Yeah,
you could, if you want to pair these economically, you could have the Livewire components have a tier that includes a year of screencasts or whatever. Okay, like you could work that.
Yeah, you could
discount
like that.
Yeah,
some kind of discount or something.
Throw some coupon codes at this,
and throw some coupon codes to your current
codes. I think that's the way to go.
People, but don't. I would not say, oh, if you're a screencast subscriber for $14 a month, you get this giant package of Livewire components for free.
So the other thing about these Livewire, I mean, we could do a while here on Livewire components, but I think the same thing applies as the videos. I think you have to be super careful about partnering. I don't like the idea of partnering, to be honest with you, at all.
I like the idea. Partner with me on that. I like that idea.
I don't know. I mean, there's one thing to become like
I won't even sign a contract. Just partner with
co-founders.
me.
I think like if you want to start a business that's these components, like it's its own legal structure, and you have a literal partner, and you're 50-50 in making this thing work, or whatever the percentage, right? But I think just having somebody who's hired, who's like getting a percentage of revenue, I don't know, man. I don't like it. I
won't do 50.
Like
I'll do 60-40, but I get the 60.
What we need to do is sign Aaron right now, 60-40. No, what we need to do is have another podcast on components in 6 months.
I think that's right. I think Livewire components is pretty meaty.
I have
because we didn't even solve the support problem.
We didn't even talk about the support problem.
Talk about why we're here.
From outer space, you drop a megaton, and it's like, I got Livewire Pro components.
Before 6 months from now, I have to throw out one thing about the components. Maybe we'll have to do another show here on the support. But
I gotta go.
Yeah. Listen,
Aaron, who are you going to?
I got a
number.
job,
I'll just tell
man.
him.
If you go, I can just ask him, and you can follow. I gotta ask him this one thing while we're here.
You can ask him one thing.
One thing. Do you think there's a world where it makes sense that the components are Livewire and Vue components, or React and Vue components? The JavaScript part of them are existing open source library components.
Why would you say that?
I don't have this can of worms. I gotta go. I'll listen later.
You want to talk about?
I'm incredulous.
No.
Seriously.
Because there's so many people working on those. They're so hard to build.
I'm gonna hit leave. Keep recording.
It's true.
Should we wrap it up?
No, y'all keep talking.
Leave.
I'm gonna hit leave. If this goes sideways,
we'll wrap it up.
I don't know. Okay, bye.
Bye.
So what you're saying, Ian?
Yes.
How do you pronounce Shade CDN or Shad
CN or whatever?
Shad CN?
That's actually just a wrapper on top of like Radix components.
Okay, so you got Radix, you got Shad CN, you got Aria or React Aria, and then the thing they're building on top of React Aria.
There's all the big brains in the React space
all
doing
the
big brain stuff.
There's headless UI.
Right. There's headless UI. There's all kinds of stuff.
All of these incredibly good component libraries that don't exist in other ecosystems.
Right.
And so what you're proposing is I create something that builds on that by creating some adapter.
Right.
And maybe you're using it and you might not even know or see that you're using a React component.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And then if you need to, you can tweak the React component if you're willing to bundle Vite and stuff,
Right. You could do that. Yeah. Potentially there's some way that you can get at the lower level stuff if you need to, right? Or whatever.
The problem with that is styling, where like what Adam's doing with Catalyst is what I want to do, which is like you publish the stubs so that I don't have to maintain like a version of this, and you can tweak your styling.
Right. Like this style, whatever. You have some way to set the classes or whatnot. Like it ships with a nice default set, but you can of course adjust that in whatever way that mechanism that has to happen in. But I guess to me, like, here's the thing. Like, you're going to partner with somebody, right? Whatever.
Yep.
No matter how gifted a person you find to help you with this, like, you're not going to produce better components than Radix in terms of, like, all the functionality. Because there's just hundreds of people working on it, right?
100%.
Like, so that is the thing. And the problems with it are going to be immense of the, like, weirdo JavaScript stuff that doesn't work in the weirdo browser and the thing, and it's like a lifetime of bugs and stuff for you to fix and deal with versus just like, I don't care about who built the JavaScript end of this component. I only care about paying you for the way I can use this stuff super nice in Livewire. And so I think there is just something where you can outsource the hardest part of this in terms of like making a combo box that's super amazingly awesome, or making a calendar. I mean, making a calendar, dude, that's going to take you, that's like a year right there.
The rest of them I already spent the year building, like the Alpine UI that's like a parody with headless UI. I have that. So there's a part of it that's like,
but even
I could go down
some
this
of that,
road.
It's not all the way to what the Radix ones are. In
100%. And I actually this week have a pile of combo box bugs because it's the most complicated piece of software I've ever written.
In the demo, I'm like, oh man, they still haven't totally nailed this. Like,
it's like nearly impossible.
It's hard, and it's like, and it's for you to ship enough components to make it be like, listen, this is like $200 or $500, whatever the amount. Who knows? Let's not get into that. But like, I don't know, it's a huge, a tremendous amount of work. And I don't know, I just rather you building the Livewire parts of it is so valuable, and then like outsourcing the part that literally 20 other groups have already solved,
right?
Rather than you reinventing that. I just feel like,
it's very interesting, and the technology to crack it wouldn't be that hard. I think the really hard part is like, if you have, let's say, like a modal component. This is the hard part, Ian. Here we go.
Give it to me.
The dialogue component, React Aria, wherever I get it from, it handles focus trapping and scroll locking and all that stuff.
Right.
With a calendar, it doesn't matter. All you care about is you include the calendar thing and you bind some data to it. With a dialogue, you need to decide what goes in the content of that dialogue. And if you're using Livewire, you probably want it to be, you definitely want it to be Livewire related, and you probably want to use Blade to make it dynamic in the Livewire ways. So before, if this is just a calendar picker, it's like, no problem, I can black box this React bit entirely and then just do the linkage of the data, and now we're good. In the case of a dialogue and popovers and accordions and all that stuff, it's like, I need slots. And to do slots...
Do you?
So here's actually a way I could do it, but I could make custom web elements. You familiar with these?
No.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a lit element or something?
No.
This is good that you don't know this, and hopefully I can explain it briefly enough. But React and Vue both, I think, support this first party. So normally you have a React component, which is, JSX compiles to a bunch of JavaScript. You assign it like a mount target on your page. It mounts React, and now it owns that part of your app. It owns it.
Right.
So that's pretty hard to slot inside of and everything.
Right.
You can bundle Vue and React components as web elements.
Okay.
It's an API that's supported in browsers, so that you would just include like the CDN in your script tag, and then you literally forget about Livewire, forget about anything. You could just have an HTML file. You're not doing React.mount. You're not doing any of that.
Okay.
You literally write an HTML element that you've named in your library. So I literally like open caret, and it's like,
give me this.
It's like, Ian's favorite component.
Right.
And now the browser, because it knows custom web elements, goes, oh, I have a registration for that custom web element. Now I'm going to mount that on the page.
Okay.
It supports slots, so you can slot content inside of it. So problem solved there. But here's what it doesn't support. It's Shadow DOM by default.
Okay.
Familiar with Shadow DOM?
I mean, I've heard the term. I know roughly what it's doing, but I'm not an expert.
So what that does by default when you use Shadow DOM, that element, if you look in your Chrome DevTools, you'll just see that element. Even though underneath it is a whole React component with its own markup, it's considered Shadow DOM.
Okay.
It's totally a black box. So in your DevTools, you have to like right click and be like, open the Shadow DOM to see it. It's great because it encapsulates all of React, and it's great.
Right.
But it doesn't inherit styles at all.
Okay.
So if you want to use tone, you have to bundle all the styles with that web element, which this could be a good thing, because you could have things that are styled well, and then their slots inherit your normal app styling. But if you want somebody to use their own tone in their own app to customize the border radius of their
which you probably
dialogue,
want, it doesn't do that.
I either have to do some tech foo or use light DOM. You can make custom web elements light DOM, which just means they go from being that element to actually having the real DOM in the page. Okay. And now we're back to the problem of like, well, React is on this, and now Livewire is on the middle of it.
Right.
So if I can use custom web elements to hide all of the React, this could work with some tech foo. This could work. And then the slots could just be Livewire, and Livewire does its Livewire thing. The only problem I still see is like, let's say here's a scenario. You have a React. I don't know if you wanted this like tech problems.
Let's do it. Like we're all
session.
Over here. Sure, let's go.
If you have a dialogue that I hide all the stuff, you just use it as like X-dialogue.
Right.
And then you put stuff in the content. Now you want to close. You want a bespoke button in here that closes the dialogue, or in tabs goes to the next tab, whatever.
Right.
In React, this is fine. It's like a render prop or like a scoped slot in Vue. So it's like. In Vue, you just say like X scope, you get explode a little thing called close, and now you can just call close in your own view. In this, that stuff lives in React. You want to close that dialogue from your Livewire HTML. How do I provide you with that? Like,
There's no way
maybe there's a tech way to do it.
Events or something, or
yeah, it might be events, which definitely feels kind of dirty. But I guess if it's well documented and if it's like as clean as it could be, maybe that's okay. But there might have to be like that's maybe the only. I had a bunch of questions before we started this conversation, and now I think it's down to like a couple of like. Honestly, I should just explore it and just
it's worth exploring. I feel like, I don't know. I definitely am not the guy about the like all the tech foo required to connect these things and what everything's doing with the Shadow DOM. Definitely not my area of expertise, but I just do think that if there's a way to reutilize what all these mega brains have done, and
it would be so smart.
The value add of what you're doing is not that. Like you building a combo box is not the Caleb value add that I want to pay for. I want to pay for you giving me the magical experience in Livewire, and that feels like your time spent on that and connecting things is much more valuable than you in the weeds of Firefox
building
47, having to figure out why this thing's not appearing in the correct position, or you know what I mean? Like that stuff is
like
so
doing the
brutal.
job of like hundreds of developers.
Right, yeah. Like, and obviously you can do it and it'd probably be okay, right? And like 2 years from now, you'd have something reasonable-ish. But then, you know, things always change and something's going to change. You got to fix it all and whatever. And I just feel like, I just don't know if that's like the best value add for you. I just feel like there's other places that you add so much value that it's not in there.
Yeah.
And then, and again, like if you just, and then the other way is also very brittle to me. It's like if you get a partner and they're going to do that stuff. Well, like, you know how these things go, right? Partner flakes out and disappears. Partner goes and gets a job. Partner, whatever. Now, like, you have a half-built thing. That's like, you don't want to be in there finishing this half-built thing. And I got to find somebody else. And like, you know, I don't know. It's very complicated that way.
This change makes everything 1,000 times more doable.
That's what I'm saying.
That's like literally
what I feel
1,000 times. Yeah.
That's what I feel like. If it can be done, like, listen, obviously, maybe it just can't be done, right? And if it just can't be done, so be it. But I mean, even like the things like, I don't know, like there's like the extreme case of like making it all work in a dialogue, which is like the most complicated scenario. But maybe it just works on pages and not in dialogues or whatever. I don't know if there's anything even different there, but it sounds like
or maybe I just use my own build the dialogue. I already have those things built.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out if there's like way more complex things.
So that's what like, Shad CN does. Like they haven't written any of their own components. It's mostly Radix, but some of it is the Arius, the Adobe stuff, and then like
they just do what they got to do.
Right. Like they do what they got to do, and I could totally see you doing that. Yeah. Like some stuff's your stuff, and some stuff's their stuff, and whatever.
True.
Mix and match.
That solves a lot of problems. Yeah, and then if what I sell to you is blade components with well-documented APIs, what's inside of them, you might have to publish some stubs so that I'm not on the hook for versions NPM update or whatever.
Yeah, that's the way to do it for sure.
Yeah, so you publish your stubs, whatever. I handle, but like that almost is like a gray box. Like you don't need to touch it.
You shouldn't
and if you do,
necessarily go
you
in
change
there.
some Tailwind classes, but don't, the average users, I'm not expecting them to go in there and friggin' like compile the React and mess with stuff.
Right.
So if I'm shipping you, like, you go to this page, you find the component you want, you like the design, you like the interactivity, like this is the one, tons of variations, and then you publish it in your app, and now you have a blade component that has a full documentation for like, oh, I want this to be open by default. I pass in an open prop. You don't have to go in and do stuff. Then it feels, again, like a gray box that I could use different tools inside of. You're not really expected to have to know how to maintain it. 90% of people aren't going to want to even touch them.
Right. I mean, all these things to me are for those people, right? The people who are willing to pay money for this are the people who don't want to go and do React and figure it all out at the lowest level. They're like, whatever, I have a business, I have a product, I just want to add some functionality to it. Or I want to start from a fresh project with Livewire, and I just want to drop this in and be day one, boom, I'm so productive. I have everything I need. I want it to be, I mean, to me, that's the premise of Livewire, right? Which is why you want to do components, but it's like, gives you that reactive interface and all that niceness, but without all the heavy lifting. And so obviously first party components would be amazing on that, because you still end up, well, I got to do an input, and I got to like copy and paste stuff from somewhere to get the basic input, but now I got to do the code to make it reactive. And then like an input's fine. That doesn't take you that long. But then, yes, you want a combo box. You want all these other modern things that you see Linear has, or that you see GitHub does, or whatever you're looking up to, right? And you're like, oh, they have all this fancy interactions. How do I have the fancy interactions?
Right.
And it's hard.
Question for you, Ian. This is okay. You've used inertia, right? Inertia and React.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's say that in your inertia component or your inertia class, your controller or whatever, where you return. Okay, let's say this. You have a Livewire component,
right?
And you have a render method.
Okay.
When you're in a render method, you return a blade view.
Yes.
Let's say you return what you would return from an inertia controller. You return an inertia : render.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then that has a React component.
Okay. Right.
And in that React component, you can import $wire from Livewire. And now you're just in React doing your entire inertia React setup, except for your forms, for your server communication. You could just be like, vmodel $wire dot title. And then it's bound to Livewire. And then when you want to save that, you'd like $wire dot save. If you're using React, you do whatever you want. It's just $. It's like
whatever you put it on whatever button you want, and it
like let title equals use Livewire or something.
Right.
Is that because now you just use shed CN.
So you just use whatever you want.
Now you just use Radix.
Right.
You use Tailwind. Use whatever you want.
Yeah.
Is that the ideal world for you in your circumstance, or would you still rather have all the nice and easiness of Livewire and just black box the complex UI widgets?
Well, I think that I have two answers to that. So I've already been messing with semi-successfully getting Livewire and React to talk, but it is ugly. I don't like it because I don't know all the good stuff and I wouldn't know how to do it properly. And it's just like events firing around.
And this is why you were in the Livewire event stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely think there is a world of like, here is an adapter of some sort that does some magic. If you're comfortable dropping React in and having React components and then wiring things together with however this works, then that is there and works and is good. But I mean, I would certainly prefer to just have Livewire components that they're your vision, that they are super seamless.
You stay in a one holistic
I'm basically staying in Blade Livewire land, and I'm just passing data in with props and whatever I have to do, and fine. Like that is definitely the ideal. And I think the other option is viable. They're kind of like two different things almost, because there's still gonna be a lot of people who are like, I don't want to like learn React and load up React and like do all that stuff. Like I just want to stay in Livewire land. So yeah, I think almost both could even exist potentially, but yeah, I think ultimately I would prefer the components for sure.
All right. Yeah. All right, good. I mean, that answers the question. Okay. So we've solved everything except support, and maybe that's another podcast.
Maybe we have to come back for that one.
But we got the business, we got components. I got a hack session on React and making web elements and seeing how that works with Livewire.
You never know. Stuff's always changing too. Like maybe there's new stuff in there that's awesome and good.
True.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here then, since we've kind of gotten
we kicked Aaron off.
Poor Aaron, he's not even on the podcast anymore. We've abandoned him. Well, thank you, Aaron, for letting us continue and being okay with us wrapping it up. I think we made some good progress. Thanks, Caleb, for coming on. This was super awesome. Our longest episode.
We solved the world today, Ian. We solved the world. There's more worlds to solve, but this is, dude.
Look at all the
good. This is good.
All the value we've produced for our listeners today.
Sheesh. Do you charge for this?
I know, we should charge for this. We should charge for this. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Follow us on, Twitter, mostlytechpod, mostlytechnical.com. Email us, mostlytechnicalpodcast@gmail.com with feedback. I'm sure you'll have some feedback on this episode. There's a lot in here. So let us know. And thanks for listening. And thanks on Aaron's behalf. And talk to you
Peace out.
soon. Bye.